Chapter 121. Robin's Explosive Popularity. Brother, look quickly. What a handsome young master. Meng Hongqin's eyes sparkled, and her voice trembled with excitement. She tugged hard at Xiao Hongqin's arm and pointed toward Lu Jingming. Xiao Hongqin rolled his eyes. He was used to his sister's obsession with handsome people. Whenever she saw an attractive member of the opposite sex, she turned into a lovesick fool. Beibei's pupils narrowed when he saw Lu Jingming. Surprise flashed across his face. He clearly remembered meeting him once outside the Stardew Great Forest. Beibei, do you know him? Someone asked. Not really, just met once outside the Stardew Great Forest. Xiaoya and I met junior brother then, Beibei explained to Xu Sanqi and the others. Yuhao, you saw him too? Wang Dong asked Huo Yuhao curiously. Lu Jingming's looks were extraordinary. He was the first male they'd seen who could rival Wang Dong in appearance. I was unconscious then. I was absorbing my first spirit ring, so I didn't see him, Huo Yuhao said, scratching his head awkwardly. But he's definitely handsome. It's the first time I've seen a guy who could compete with you, Wang Dong. Xiao Xiao stared at Lu Jingming with admiration. Appearance had a power of its own. Without saying a word, an exceptional face could draw attention. They're March 7th in Yegai. They helped us in the Mingdo mountain range, someone added soon after. They recognized two more acquaintances. They're also contestants from St. Freya Academy. They noticed St. Freya Academy's team was only 10 people, like theirs, not a full lineup. Wang Dong and the others wondered where the rest of the Academy's team was. Ma Xiaotao, who knew something of St. Freya's situation, explained, they are the main team members. St. Freya Academy is less than 10 years old. The students who won last time have already graduated. Don't underestimate them, Ma Xiaotao added seriously. They're our age, but they're strong. Being chosen as teammates of someone like Lu Jingming means they're not to be taken lightly. Bei and the others exchanged glances, finding it hard to imagine peers who merited such respect from Ma Xiaotao. Wang Yan, pushing up his glasses, nodded gravely. As an academy teacher, he remembered how strong Shrek Academy's lineup had been in the previous session, and yet St. Pord, Freya had beaten them. Given Sea Abyss City's spirit tool technology and the miraculous Eye of Sea Abyss, it was likely St. Freya's spirit tools were even more formidable than those used by the Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Academy. Wang Yan was not one of the teachers who rejected spirit tools. He encouraged their use and had even tried to push for reforms at Shrek Academy, but his influence was limited. He could therefore feel their power more keenly. Lu Jingming walked steadily, leading St. Freya Academy's members into their exclusive resting area, located between the Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Academy and Shrek Academy. This central position around the Eye of Sea Abyss offered the best view and underscored St. Freya's status. The Star Luo Royal Academy's lounge was also nearby, but its captain, Shu Juju, was nowhere to be seen. The sun burned overhead, lighting the Eye of Sea Abyss. Suddenly, a clear cry, like a phoenix's call, cut through the air and shook the four fields. Everyone looked up to see a colossal vermilion bird incarnation blotting out the sky and sun, radiating a powerful aura. The pressure of a tidal Douluo washed over the venue, intimidating hundreds of thousands of spectators. A high platform slowly rose from the center of the arena. The vermilion bird incarnation contracted, revealing the figure of an incomparable beauty. Her long hair faded from red to white, fluttering like fire. She moved lightly, and with each step, a red lotus bloomed beneath her feet as if walking through a dream. She finally stood upon the giant floating platform, graceful and poised. Everyone, welcome to Sea Abyss City, her voice rang out, amplified by Spirit Tool. I am Changli, the titled Douluo Li Huang. I am temporarily acting as City Lord of Sea Abyss City, and will preside over this session of the All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Spirit Fighting Tournament. Her words silenced the noisy venue. Hundreds of thousands of people stared in awe, holding their breath. Changli turned slightly and made a graceful gesture. Now, please welcome His Majesty, the Emperor of our Star Luo Empire. Another platform ascended quickly. Emperor Shu Jiawei, dressed in a golden dragon robe and crown, stepped out, radiating royal majesty. Beside him stood the Empress, composed and dignified, with Shujuju elegant and guarded by the heavenly eagle Douluo. As they reached the main platform, Changli handed the amplification spirit tool to Xu Jiawei and stepped aside. The Emperor's voice rolled across the arena. His presence, traveling all the way from Star Luo City to attend this tournament with the Empress, showed how much importance he attached to Sea Abyss City and the competition. Many in the audience knelt as he appeared. Vast crowds along the coastline bowed in unison, a spectacular display of imperial authority. The contestants from the academy stood and offered their respects as well. Spirit Masters did not need to kneel, but they showed deference to the Emperor. The All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Spirit Fighting Tournament is a grand event for the entire Douluo Continent, Xu Jiawei proclaimed. I am pleased this session is held in my Star Luo Empire. On behalf of the Empire, I welcome representatives from every academy. I hope you will show your best over the coming month. Thank you, Your Majesty. Over 100 academy representatives responded in unison, their voices neat and determined. This competition was not only a test of strength, but a bid for honor. I won't say more, Xu Jiawei continued. I believe you have been looking forward to this. I declare the 2024 All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Spirit Fighting Tournament officially open. Cannons fired and fireworks exploded in a rain of color above the eye of Sea Abyss, their light catching on the venue's technological brilliance. The crowd roared, "Long live!" A wave of sound from millions of voices swept the sky. Xu Jiawei and the Empress took their seats on the main platform to watch. Changli once again took the center and announced the rules. The first round would be a knockout. 133 academies had registered. After drawing, one academy would receive a bye, and the remaining academies would fight 66 matches. Winners would advance, losers would be eliminated. Now, welcome the Heavenly Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy team from the Dueling Empire and the Champion Academy of the previous tournament, St. Freya Academy from the Star Luo Empire. Changli announced. As her words fell, the entire Sea Abyss city erupted, but not in support of any single academy. Instead, the crowd chanted one name over and over. Robin, Robin, Robin. The thunderous shouts showed just how beloved Robin was among the common people. Contestants and spectators alike were stunned by the single-minded, almost fanatical chanting. Xiao Xiao's face went white. She whispered, "Oh no! If we accidentally injure young Miss Robin in the match, we might get torn apart by those fans." Bei and the others' mouths twitched in agreement. The contestants from other academies shared the worry. Everyone knew that if anyone seriously harmed Robin and angered the crowd, the consequences could be terrifying. The 7 members of Heavenly Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy were the first to appear. Facing the previous champions team already placed enormous pressure on them, and the audience's overwhelming one-sided enthusiasm made them feel as if a heavy hammer were pressing on their chests. Under the scorching gaze of hundreds of thousands, they walked toward the arena with trembling steps and pale faces, but they held themselves together as best they could. "Let's go. Our turn," Lu Jingming said calmly, a faint smile on his face. Though this was his first time on such a grand competition stage, he felt strangely composed, like a still lake without ripples. The others were less serene. Xiadi, introverted and socially anxious, was visibly uncomfortable in the noisy throng, unsure what to do with her hands. March 7th was nervous, clutching the corner of her clothes and forcing a stiff smile. Jinxie and Robin, used to the public eye, moved with natural confidence and poise. Guyue remained cold and aloof, focused only on the match and oblivious to the crowd. Lu Ying, a veteran of battlefields, was unbothered by the spectacle. Reserve members Lan Susu, Lan Luoluo, and Ye Gui stayed off stage, ready to substitute if needed. As champions of the previous tournament, St. Freya Academy had to appear first. They had prepared, vitally aware of what was expected of them. So, a group of 7, led by Lu Jingming, walked steadily toward the competition stage, ready to begin. Chapter 122, Kneel Before Me. Amidst deafening, thunderous cheers, the 7 contestants from both schools stepped onto the competition stage at the same time, facing one another across the arena. A dragon-like roar rolled through the crowd, and a pale green breeze swept over the venue like a veil. Within that agile wind, Dan Heng materialized in the center of the arena. His expression was calm as he announced, "I am Dan Heng, serving as referee for this Spirit Master tournament. Both sides, prepare yourselves. As his voice faded, the teams that had been standing at opposite ends moved quickly to the center and lined up face to face. The students from Tianling Advanced Spirit Master Academy couldn't help but steal admiring glances at the 7 members of St. Freya Academy. There was simply no comparison. The St. Freya students were all exceptionally attractive, handsome, charismatic young men with commanding presences, and graceful, beautiful young women whose poise was irresistible. Compared to them, Tianling's team looked dull and ordinary. When their eyes landed on Robin, a wave of awe swept through Tianling's ranks. It was easy to see why the audience went wild for her. Robin's aura drew people in, and her gentle smile, peerless beauty, celebrity status, and reputation for defending the weak had earned her the affection of much of the Star Luo Empire in just a few years. In the first round, it's a team match, Dan Heng said, businesslike and precise. Spirit tools may be used. Once one side concedes, the other side must stop attacking. Clear? Understood, both teams replied in unison. All right, retreat and create distance. Listen for my command. With that, both sides backed away in an instant, separating by over 100 meters. Tianling's members snapped into a neat formation, 3 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the rear, a classic 3-2-1-1 layout. The front 3 were clearly offense and defense. The middle 2 relied on speed and agile attacks. The last 2 were support and control. With offense, defense, speed, control, and support covered, Tianling's team was balanced and well prepared. By contrast, Lu Jingming's team from St. Freya stood in a casual, seemingly unplanned arrangement, giving nothing away about a standard team formation. Dan Heng raised his right hand slowly. Silence fell over the stands like a held breath. Spectators, the dense crowd along the coastline, and the countless citizens in Sea Abyss City watching the projection were all fixed on the arena. This was the opening match of the 2024 All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. No one wanted to miss a moment. The match begins. Dan Heng's voice carried through every corner. Both teams released their spirit rings almost simultaneously. Colors exploded, rings of light weaving together and painting the arena like a dreamscape. Tianling's strength was undeniable. 5 spirit ancestors and 2 spirit elders among their ranks made them a solid mid-tier team among the 100-plus participating academies. Reaching spirit ancestor before 20 was already a remarkable achievement, but every eye in the arena immediately dropped to the 7 members of St. Freya Academy. A blood-red glow bathed them and lit up the arena. The faces of Tianling's 7 paled at what they saw. All 7 of St. Freya's students were Spirit Kings. That revealed status alone was astonishing. What stunned the crowd even more was the configuration of their spirit rings, combinations that defied expectation. Lu Jingming's rings were 2 purple, 2 black, and 1 red, an almost terrifying mix. Robin and the others weren't far behind. Most of them showed 2 purple and 3 black rings, a layout exceedingly rare in the Spirit Master world. "How is this possible?" came a chorus of shocked voices from the stands. In the Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Academy's lounge, Xiao Hongqin's veins bulged as he gripped the armrest and stared unblinkingly at Lu Jingming. He and Lu Jingming were the same age, both 5-ring Spirit Kings, yet the gap in spirit ring quality was immeasurable. Physique, mind, spirit power, everything suggested he was stacked as far below these 7 prodigies. The truth stung the arrogant young genius hard. Reality left him no choice but to swallow his pride. Beside him, Meng Hongqin's eyes sparkled. "So handsome," she breathed, completely smitten with Lu Jingming. Xiao Hongqin's face darkened. He flung out his hand and clamped an annoyed grip on his sister's head, trying to stamp out her infatuation. In Shrek Academy's lounge, Wang Yan stared with wide eyes. As a theorist who studied spirits, he understood how near impossible it was to acquire spirit rings beyond one's level. Even twin spirits, whose bodies were naturally stronger, couldn't explain the anomalous configurations he saw. The only reasonable conclusion was that St. Freya Academy possessed a secret method to artificially increase the apparent age of spirit rings. Many factions had such techniques, Shrek included, but the costs were typically prohibitive. St. Freya, however, had not only acquired this method, but blatantly used it on a large scale for their students. Wealth and resources ran deep in that academy. Lu Jingming gave no hint of holding back for the opening match. Calmly, he extended his left hand almost imperceptibly and pressed it down toward Tianling's 7. His voice, serene and authoritative, carried across the arena. 8 million divine might, shine upon my body. This world, all are my subjects. Kneel before me. Instantly, an invisible, crushing gravitational force slammed into the 7 members of Tianling Advanced Spirit Master Academy, their faces drained of color. Under the unimaginable pressure, their legs buckled and their bodies collapsed forward, falling to their knees with a heavy thud. The arena floor in that section sunk several inches under the force, the depression a mute testament to the gravity of the attack. Gasps and shouts erupted in the audience. With a simple gesture, Lu Jingming had suppressed all 7 opponents. How could a Spirit King achieve such an effect? They didn't use a spirit ability. That was a spirit bone ability. Wang Yan and others who had been closely observing the arena cried out, shocked but precise. No spirit rings flared on Lu Jingming's body during the attack, indicating the use of a spirit bone ability, not a standard spirit skill. Wang Yan pushed up his glasses and tried to steady his voice. That effect, that must be 100,000-year spirit bone. The implications slammed into him. 100,000-year spirit ring, combined with 100,000-year spirit bone, suggested Lu Jingming could wield abilities on the scale of a 400,000-year level. With spirit power close to Spirit Emperor levels, his combat capacity had leapt to a terrifying plateau. Even Shrek Academy's strongest, Ma Xiaotao, a spirit saint, might well find herself outmatched in a direct clash. While a spirit saint could summon a spirit avatar and spike their strength dramatically, century-magnitude spirit rings and spirit bones could also provoke a qualitative leap in a Spirit King's power. Suddenly, Shrek's supposed advantage from having a spirit saint felt far less certain. Bebe and her teammates exchanged fearful looks. They hadn't expected to face such a team for the championship. At the same age, all 7 opponents were Spirit Kings, with horrifically superior spirit ring configurations, while they were mere spirit ancestors. The pride of being elite disciples of Shrek Academy took a heavy hit. Already losing heart? Ma Xiaotao's voice snapped. She saw the discouragement in their faces and refused to let it take root. Though her expression was solemn, her eyes burned with fierce battle intent as they locked onto Lu Jingming. A spirit saint who had broken through into that rank would not accept defeat at the hands of a Spirit King. She would fight. Chapter 123. 100,000-year spirit bone ability. Royal authority. We surrender. The captain of the Tianling Advanced Academy team lay sprawled on the arena floor, disheveled. His muscles trembled as he fought to resist the crushing gravity pressing down on him. Large beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, pattering onto the arena and spreading into dark, wet stains. Still, that invisible, unbearable pressure, like a towering, immovable mountain, continued to press down relentlessly. Beside him, his teammates one by one could no longer hold out. Their legs gave way. They were pinned to the ground, groaning in pain. Their young faces twisted with unwillingness and humiliation. At last, the captain could barely move his lips. He summoned every ounce of strength to force the single phrase out. "The match is over!" Dan Heng's voice cut through the stunned silence as he looked toward Lu Jingming. Lu Jingming's expression never changed. He calmly withdrew his left hand. The invisible gravity receded like a tide and vanished. Robin and the others immediately retracted their spirit rings as well. From the start, they had known this initial match was merely a formality. Lu Jingming had no intention of letting the opposing team mount a real challenge. To establish St. Freya Academy's reputation, they meant to crush their opponents utterly, like autumn winds sweeping away fallen leaves. Lu Jingming's 100,000-year spirit bone, the mountain-moving ape, came with a spirit bone ability called Royal Authority. It was a gravity-type ability that could unleash terrifying gravitational force, tens or even hundreds of times stronger than normal, locking opposing combatants in place. But Royal Authority consumed huge amounts of spirit power and drained mental strength heavily. The more power invested, the stronger the gravity became. Its multiplier increased with the energy fed into it. Unless Lu Jingming allowed it, no one could stand under Royal Authority's suppression. Royal Authority had an extremely high upper limit, its effectiveness scaled with the user's strength. Though the age of the spirit bone imposed certain bounds, Lu Jingming possessed Honkai energy, which could slowly refine the fused spirit bone, effectively increasing its age and strength over time. In that way, the scope of royal authority's power could continue to expand. The match had ended, but hundreds of thousands in the arena and millions watching worldwide remained in stunned silence. 100,000-year spirit ring on a spirit king was unimaginable, a display of power that sent shockwaves through everyone present. Even ordinary people understood what such a ring represented: the death of a tremendously powerful 100,000-year spirit beast and a level of might few titled Douluo ever achieved. Let's go. Lu Jingming glanced indifferently at the Tianling Academy members as they were helped from the arena, their faces crestfallen, then turned and walked off the stage. Spirit Master competitions were always ruthless. Tianling Advanced Academy wasn't weak. On a different day, with different fortune, they might have advanced. But this time, they had met Lu Jingming. After that astonishing opening match, the All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy tournament continued in full swing. Lu Jingming and his teammates stayed to watch. March 7th and the others were genuinely interested in the contest and wanted to study potential opponents. Watching other teams' matches was the best way to learn both themselves and their enemies. Shrek Academy's subsequent performance shocked everyone. Injuries had forced them to field reserves like Beibei, and when Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong, and Xiao Xiao, who looked no older than 12 or 13, stepped out, the crowd buzzed with speculation. Why would Shrek send such young-looking members? The answer came the moment the match began. Huo Yuhao unleashed his mimicry spirit ability, and in an instant, 6 crimson 100,000-year spirit rings appeared around him, radiating a terrifying aura. He used his ability to simulate spirit rings for Beibei and the others too. For a heartbeat, every member of Shrek Academy seemed transformed into a spirit emperor. Huo Yuhao, in particular, looked as if he bore 600,000-year spirit rings. The shock rivaled, and some thought even exceeded, what Lu Jingming had shown. Their opponents, already unnerved by Shrek Academy's fearsome reputation and unsettled by Lu Jingming's earlier display, fell into disarray. Seizing the moment, Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong executed a spirit fusion, Golden Road. A blinding golden light flashed, and with a single coordinated strike, they overwhelmed their opponents and won the match. Yet when the dust settled and spectators reflected, doubts surfaced. Lu Jingming's solitary 100,000-year ring had been proven genuine by his overwhelming display of power. But Huo Yuhao's 6 rings felt suspicious. How could someone apparently at Spirit Emperor level still need a spirit fusion with companions to win, and not do so in the same effortless, decisive manner? Sharp-eyed viewers began to suspect trickery. Some understood Huo Yuhao's performance as a tactical ploy by Shrek Academy and stopped there. Few considered that there might be something odd about Shrek's lineup itself. The first day of the tournament drew to a close amid one intense elimination match after another. Night fell, but discussion only heated up, especially about Lu Jingming's domineering debut and the baffling spectacle of Shrek Academy. Robin didn't stop moving. She kept humming that pleasant tune, clearly enjoying the moment. "Sigh! I think Aiming is the group favorite. Don't you agree, godchild?" she teased. March 7th scooped up the little fox at her side and buried her face in its pink fur, taking a long, blissful breath. The fox purred contentedly, narrowing its eyes. "Ying, ying, ying," it seemed to agree, then lifted a fluffy paw and waved. "Ah, so soft and fragrant. The godchild is the best. It's decided I'm sleeping with the godchild tonight." With that, March 7th hugged the fox and, like a gust of wind, darted into her room, as if afraid someone might steal the little creature from her. Boring. Guyue stood to one side, glanced at Lu Jingming curled on Robin's lap, shook her head, and went back to her own room. Soon the hall was quiet again, with only Robin and Lu Jingming left. Lu Jingming rested his head on Robin's soft thighs, drank in her scent, felt the gentle weight on his brow, and listened to her clear humming. His heart eased. He wanted to shout, "Robin is the best!" Sleep came over him quickly. He dozed off, defenseless, lying on the sofa with his head in Robin's lap. Early the next morning, gold sunlight threaded through the windows. March 7th, still sleepy, pushed open her door and yawned. but froze when she saw the sofa. There, Robin and Lu Jingming were curled up together, asleep in each other's arms. Her shout sent other doors opening and several curious faces peering out. Robin and Lu Jingming woke at the same time and realized how suggestive their position looked. Robin's face turned crimson. She scrambled up, sat awkwardly to one side, and frantically smoothed her hair and wrinkled clothes. Nothing untoward had happened. After Lu Jingming fell asleep, she'd considered moving him to his room, but didn't want to wake him, and leaving him alone on the sofa felt wrong. So she stayed. They'd finished one elimination round and had no matches for 3 days, so she thought it safe to rest beside him. She dozed off without realizing it, and the two of them had ended up hugging on the sofa. The thought of being in his arms again made Robin blush even deeper. She kept her head down and avoided everyone's eyes. Lu Jingming, however, looked composed. After all, he'd been the one to benefit, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile lingered at the corners of his mouth. "What are you all staring at? Hungry, aren't you? I'll have someone bring up breakfast," he said, glaring at the onlookers. He pulled out his communicator and ordered breakfast for the floor. With nothing more to see, the others returned to their rooms to wash up. Robin hurried away to get herself presentable. Lu Jingming stayed behind, savoring the warmth of the memory. Time flew. 3 days later, the brutal elimination rounds were over, and the round-robin stage was about to begin. The memory of the elimination matches, how savage they had been, still sat heavy in everyone's minds. The round-robin was less immediately life or death, but demanded a different kind of strategy. 67 teams had advanced. They were divided into 8 groups, 3 groups of 9 teams and 5 groups of 8. Every team would play at least 7 matches. Wins gave 2 points, losses 0, and draws 1 point to each side. The round-robin schedule would run roughly half a month. Unlike the elimination stage, which had been pure team battles, the round-robin would mix match types, individual elimination, full team battle, and a 2-2-3 format, decided by drawing lots. While other academies holed up in their rooms plotting tactics, Lu Jingming's team seemed exceptionally relaxed. In the nervous calm before the tournament, they even had time for shopping and sightseeing. Sea Abyss City itself was buzzing. The tournament had drawn huge crowds, and this year's opener, 100,000-year spirit ring, had sent a shockwave through the continent, surpassing even the last tournament's emergence of a spirit saint. The host city's centerpiece, the Eye of the Sea Abyss, had become a pilgrimage site. People queued overnight for the chance to buy tickets to sit inside the eye. Ticket prices soared in the frenzy, yet demand never wavered. Countless spectators paid dearly to see the matches up close on that miraculous stage. On their way back to the Dream Hotel after shopping, Lu Jingming's group of 10, 1 boy and 9 girls, each with a different flavored milk tea, took the elevator to the top floor and nearly ran into a man and a woman in the corridor. At the same moment, a suite door opened and 2 more young men stepped out. The newcomers were Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen of Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Academy and Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong from Shrek Academy. Suddenly, the top-floor corridor contained representatives from the 3 academies most favored to win. Tension stiffened the air for a moment, but quickly diffused. Lu Jingming and his group kept their composure and walked toward their suite. Xiao Hongchen's look was openly provocative, his gaze filled with battle intent, as if he couldn't wait to meet Lu Jingming again in the arena. Meng Hongchen, by contrast, smiled sweetly and waved. She greeted Lu Jingming warmly, and he returned the smile and a polite nod. As they passed Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong, Lu Jingming noticed a subtle change in Huo Yuhao, something slightly more feminine in bearing than before, a softness that hadn't been there earlier. Up close, the difference was unmistakable. Lu Jingming suspected it was a lingering side effect of Huo Yuhao's physical injury. During matches, the distance and time had concealed it, but now it was clear. Whether Huo noticed the change himself was another matter. Polite nods exchanged, and Lu Jingming led his team into the Cloud Abode suite. Across the Douluo Continent, the All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Soul Fighting Tournament was the pinnacle event of the Spirit Master world, held every 5 years and drawing attention from every corner. This year's tournament had started with a blockbuster and only intensified public interest. Sea Abyss City had prepared thoroughly. Dan Heng, the tournament referee, was formidable, able to step in whenever contests threatened to become reckless and pull contestants back from the brink. The city had also set up advanced medical treatment pods in the contestants' lounge, showcasing Sea Abyss's top spirit tool technology. As long as a contestant wasn't instantly killed, the pods could provide rapid, effective treatment, preventing critical injuries from becoming fatal. Because of those measures, the elimination rounds, though brutal, resulted in 0 accidental deaths, an unprecedented miracle that earned Sea Abyss City immense praise. Historically, many past tournaments saw contestants die in the elimination stage, but this year Sea Abyss had broken that grim pattern. The combination of a strict referee, cutting-edge medical tech, and immediate care left no room for criticism. Many eliminated academies chose not to leave the city, either to continue watching or to experience Sea Abyss City. The Dream Hotel even extended free accommodation to those teams until the tournament's end, a generous gesture in a city where rooms were otherwise impossible to find. That kindness only increased the goodwill toward the host city. Now, with the round robin about to begin, anticipation ran high. The matches would be different. Less raw, sudden danger than eliminations, but with richer tactics and closer competition. The academies that remained were all top contenders. Every matchup promised to be spectacular, full of suspense and surprises. The tournament was only just getting started. Chapter 125, Soul Mimicry. In just 3 days, Sea Abyss City reaped enormous wealth from the Spirit Master tournament. Though profits had to be shared with various parties, the amount that finally flowed into the city's coffers was still staggering. Even better, merchants who had only opened temporary inns and restaurants for the tournament were so impressed by the city's prosperity and potential that many decided to stay and establish roots long-term. No matter which academy took the championship, Sea Abyss City was the clear winner. During the tournament, the city had fully displayed its advanced spirit tool technology, top-tier combat capability, and the disciplined, formidable Golden Guards, whose presence matched up to Spirit Master contingents from the empires. The display attracted countless interested parties and dominated conversation everywhere. Lu Jingming had a strong feeling that when the tournament ended, Sea Abyss City would enter a golden age of rapid development. Population would swell, and the economy would boom. On the 4th day of the All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Soul Fighting Tournament, dawn found Sea Abyss City already teeming with people. Spectators eager for the matches arrived early to claim vantage points, filling the city with excited chatter and cheers. Star Luo Emperor Shujiawei, accompanied by the Empress and Shujuju, arrived on the main stage early as well, their presence showing great face and signaling the Emperor's emphasis on the event. The sky was bright and gemstone blue that morning, although few knew it had been meant to be cloudy. Sea Abyss City had used a weather control spirit tool to disperse the gloom and create a perfect competition environment. Heavy rain during such a grand event would have been a disaster for the many viewers who couldn't board the Eye of the Abyss and could only watch from the coast or scattered viewing stands. Though only 4 matchups remained in the first round of the round robin, all 67 teams that had advanced to this stage attended and arrived early. Every team understood the importance of knowing their opponents, especially since Sea Abyss City had prepared sandbox simulations that demanded detailed intelligence. A giant projection screen rose above the venue and displayed the round-robin groupings. As expected, the organizers had spread the heavy hitters across different groups. St. Freya Academy, Shrek Academy, and Sun Moon Royal Spirit Toolmaster Academy were separated. With 8 groups and only 2 advancement slots per group, only 16 teams would survive into the top 16. St. Freya Academy landed in Group 1, which drew particular attention because Douluo Royal Advanced Spirit Master Academy, a former top 4 contender, was in the same bracket. The prospect of the reigning champion facing a former top 8 academy excited the crowd. As hosts and defending champions, St. Freya Academy was scheduled to play the first match of the round robin. On the big screen, St. Freya's name locked to the left, while the 7 teams in Group 1 flickered on the right before settling on Thousand Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy. The screen then cleared. St. Freya Academy vs. Thousand Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy. Team battle. Round robin match. First round. St. Freya Academy versus Thousand Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy. Please have both teams' contestants enter the arena, host Changli's magnetic voice announced. At the same time, Danheng appeared on the center of the stage like a drifting breeze. As Lu Jingming and the other 7 walked out of the lounge, the venue erupted into cheers. After his strong showing in the elimination round, shouts of "Robin" rang through the crowd. He could even faintly hear his own name called. He stayed outwardly calm, focusing on the 7 members of Thousand Spirit Advanced Spirit Master Academy arrayed opposite him. Despite the overwhelmingly one-sided cheering, the Thousand Spirit team looked composed, calm, steady, and clearly well-disciplined. Lu Jingming had detailed intel on them. In fact, he held records for every contestant who had trained in the simulated universe. Training there captured and stored full profiles in its database. The Thousand Spirit captain was Shen Si, slender, stern, and wielding the Thousand Strike Spear. He was a level 53 attack-type Spirit King, a prodigy with terrifying offensive power. Beside him was his vice captain, Enlengi, blue hair cascading around a gray-silver Tai Chi top and silver trousers. Her beauty was cold and imposing. Her spirit, the Ice Frost Giant Bear, was a level 45 control-type spirit ancestor. Next to her stood Fei Yuyan, with black hair threaded with red streaks and an exquisite hairstyle. Her outfit echoed on Lengi's, but with red cords and orange trousers, and her features were delicate and lively. Her spirit, the Weaving Flame Tiger, was also a level 45 control-type spirit ancestor. It was hard to imagine such graceful girls connected to massive bear and tiger spirits. The other 4, Yang Ming, Song Hu, Bai Chen, and Ye Mao, came from the same sect, the Lingxi sect, and each commanded the defensive Lingxi shield. Because of this mix, the team had earned a nickname among the fans, the Icefire Dual Control Thousand Strike Spear. When both teams entered the arena, they separated by 100 meters without prompting. Thousand Spirit immediately assumed a defensive formation. 4 burly defensive spirit masters up front, Shen Che centered behind them, and An Lenge and Fei Yuyan at the rear. St. Freya's team stood more casually, without a strict formation. "Match begins," Danheng declared. The 4 frontline members of Thousand Spirit released their spirits at once. Yellow and purple spirit rings lit around them as dark yellow light shrouded their bodies, making their already large frames seem armored. Dark yellow Lingxi shields appeared in their right hands, each over a meter long. They formed a tight, immovable formation, a wall of shields that blocked visibility and protected the 3 members behind them. Shensei's spirit ability manifested as a silver long spear that flashed into being. Though his spirit ring configuration, 2 yellow and 3 purple, wasn't ideal, his status as a spirit king under 20 marked him a genius. The spear's presence contrasted sharply with the heavy defense ahead of him. 2 flashes, one blue, one red, suddenly rose and were followed by 2 roaring beast spirits. A 3-meter-tall ice frost giant bear and a 2.5-meter weaving flame tiger materialized on the arena. Anlengye and Fei Yuyan hadn't used full spirit possession. Instead, they summoned mimicked versions of their spirits. Lu Jingming understood their choice. If the delicate girls had possessed and physically transformed into a massive bear and tiger, the image would have been jarring. Mimicked spirits fought autonomously, and since these 2 followed the control path, physical attribute bonuses weren't as important as their tactical utility. Choosing mimicry preserved their image while still giving them formidable control abilities, an indication the powers backing them had confidence in their chosen Dao. Thousand Spirits stood ready in their copper-walled defensive posture, tension thick in the air. Lu Jingming felt his spirit power surge and decisively released his own spirit. A deep, black, long spear, Black Abyss, formed in his hand. Unlike Shen Xi's exposed, razor-sharp spear, Black Abyss radiated a restrained, suffocating presence, not openly aggressive, but cold as death itself. 2 purple, 2 black, and 1 red spirit rings arranged across his body emitted a heavy pressure that made the Thousand Spirit team breathe a little heavier. The 4 Lingxi shield bearers reacted instantly. Yellow light flashed as their shields overlapped in a blink, stacking layer upon layer until they condensed into a single tall, thick yellow shield wall that completely obscured the view of Lu Jingming and the three teammates behind it, an impervious bulwark at the front of their formation. Chapter 126, Moths to a Flame, Embracing Death. While their four teammates hurried to strengthen the defenses, the two young women, Lengye and Fei Yuyan, moved with swift, decisive precision, no hint of hesitation in their actions. Lengye commanded the Ice Frost Bear. The massive beast advanced with heavy, measured strides and took its place behind the shield wall. It slammed its paws against its chest in a slow, resonant cadence. The first spirit ring on Lengye's arm flared, releasing an icy blue light that spread like ripples. In an instant, a layer of crystal-clear ice climbed the shield wall. The yellow defensive barrier was transformed into a solid ice shield, Lengye's first spirit ability, Ice Shield. Stacked onto the Rhino Shield, the defense now had the strength of at least 3 fortified layers. Ordinary spirit masters, indeed many spirit kings, would find it extremely difficult to break through. She did not stop there. Her second spirit ring flashed, and the Ice Frost Bear pressed its paws into the ground. Icy blue light surged outward like a rising tide. In the blink of an eye, the entire 100-meter arena was blanketed in thick ice, turning the field into a frozen wasteland. A bone-chilling aura fell over the site. Temperatures plunged as though winter had been conjured on the spot. This was her second ability, Ice Seal, meant not only to restrict movement, but to wreck the enemy's rhythm. Fei Yuyan moved equally decisively. Flames roared behind her. The weaving flame tiger at her side flared into a living torch. Unusually, Fei Yuyan's first, second, and third spirit rings flashed in rapid alternation. She was unleashing 3 spirit abilities at once. That kind of simultaneous casting is rare even among elites, and it spoke volumes about her talent. First, she used Ring of Blazing Flame. A ring of crimson fire formed beneath Shensei's feet. The flames bathed him in a blood-red glow, infusing him with tremendous fire attribute strength and exceptional heat resistance. The Ring of Blazing Flame could only be cast on one teammate, but on Shensei, it took the spear in his hand and made it burn a fierce crimson. His aura swelled. Then Fei Yuyan called Blazing Wings. The weaving flame tiger roared, and enormous wings of flame erupted from its back. It leapt into the air with Fei Yuyan seated on its back, and they rose high above the arena, an awe-inspiring sight. Finally, she unleashed Azure Flame. Azure white fire poured into the tiger, and a phantom version separated from the main body. The spectral tiger charged and merged into Shensei's thousand-strike spear. Miraculously, azure white flames ignited along the spear, and beneath that blaze, the faint sound of a tiger's roar could be heard. The weapon seemed to have been given life. Shensei's aura peaked. He and the spear became one, an explosive force sharpened to a murderous edge. The crowd fell silent, transfixed. Fei Yuyan's support had elevated Shensei to an entirely new level. The lively, seemingly playful girl with the weaving flame tiger spirit had revealed auxiliary abilities of terrifying potency. Chunling Academy's plan was blunt and clear. Form an impenetrable defense, while Fei Yuyan poured everything into making Shensei unstoppable. They understood the reality. This hell-level group included the fearsome Saint Freya Academy and Doling Royal's Advanced Spirit Master Academy. Their path through the competition was likely to end in the round robin, but they would not go quietly. They would blaze as brightly as they could. Saint Freya's camp, led by Lu Jingming, watched with composed confidence. They did not interrupt Chunling's preparations, not out of mercy, but because they were supremely confident and preferred to let their opponents throw everything they had into the match. Ready? Then begin. Lu Jingming's lips curved. He flowed through a graceful spear flourish and fixed his gaze on Lu Ying. Breaking Chunling's defense would not be difficult for them, but the black abyss was dangerous. One misstep could kill a contestant. Lu Jingming did not want bloodshed. A match should remain a match. Lu Ying stepped forward with calm composure. Crimson flames leapt around her like a coronet. She looked like a queen of fire. Her right hand had closed around an emerald-green wing-sheath transformation device, its crystal sheen flashing in the reflected blaze. As she walked across the ice, the heat she exuded sliced through it, the frozen surface melting beneath her feet. She halted before Chunling's shield wall. Surrender now and no one will be harmed. Refuse and you will regret it. Her voice was clear, cold. Sensei, lips chapped with nerves, drew a deep breath. Though his tone held a note of helplessness, his eyes were steady. We appreciate the time you gave us. We know we're outmatched, but we've come this far. We won't surrender easily. Liu Ying's eyes flashed, then like moths to a flame, embraced death. With that, the air detonated. Explosive fire surged outward in every direction, warping the atmosphere as if an invisible hand had clenched the field. Temperatures rocketed. The ice spore Anlenge had laid down melted in an instant into steaming puddles. Amid the roaring flames, Liu Ying's shape was swallowed by a silver-white form. A gleaming humanoid frame resolved where she had been, a mecha-like spirit armor with blazing fire at its chest and two emerald-green flame ribbons unfurling from its shoulders. Flames licked its surface, igniting the space around it. Even through the competition's spatial barrier, spectators nearest the arena felt searing heat press against them, the air thick and stifling, sweat collecting on skin and clothes. The sight sent the crowd into an uproar. The combination of the lithe girl and the towering, beautiful warsuit was a stunning spectacle. In the Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy's lounge, Elder Ma leapt to his feet, disbelief on his face. Mingde Hall had secretly poured resources into developing humanoid spirit tools for years. Very few knew about it. Seeing something resembling a humanoid spirit tool on the competition stage, worn by a Spirit King-level contestant, shocked him. But the seasoned soul conductor in him did not stay shocked for long. He stared at the spirit rings glowing on Liu Ying and examined the transformation with a practiced eye. This was not one of the experimental spirit tools Mingde Hall had been building. It was something else entirely, an unprecedented spirit. Even so, the discovery thrilled him beyond measure. Chapter 127, The Terrifying Destructive Power of Liu Ying. Elder Ma's eyes shone as he stared at Liu Ying in the arena. If she could cooperate with Mingde Hall's research, their work on humanoid spirit tools might finally break through. The thought thrilled him, until a bone-deep chill crawled up his spine. He turned and met a woman's stare from a corner of the audience. Silver-white hair, an eye patch, cold as a winter moon. Though her visible eye was half-shrouded, the gaze felt like twin blades boring into him, a pressure that made his hair stand on end and a coldness run from his feet to his skull. Snow Moon Douluo! Elder Ma's body trembled. He quickly looked away, his earlier presumption evaporating. St. Freya Academy, Liu Ying's school, had the backing of a powerhouse like Snow Moon Douluo. He had overreached. At Shrek Academy's lounge, Ma Xiaotao felt as if struck by lightning. Her body trembled uncontrollably as she stared blankly at Liu Ying. The phoenix true fire within her surged, restless, as if drawn to Liu Ying's flames. She murmured, "Ultimate fire! Yu Hao, it's ultimate fire!" At almost the same time, Huo Yuhao's mind rang with the surprised echoes of Ice Empress and Tianmeng Iceworm. Wang Yan snapped his head around, incredulous. Dai Yueheng, Ling Luochen, and the others looked at Ma Xiaotao with stunned expressions. They could all feel the immense blaze Liu Ying was unleashing. Their own power had evaporated under its heat. But none had thought to call it ultimate fire. Ultimate attribute spirit masters were exceedingly rare. In 10,000 years, Shrek Academy had only seen a handful. In this generation, only Huo Yuhao possessed an ultimate attribute, and Ma Xiaotao would have to reach Title Douluo to possibly condense her flames into ultimate fire. Ma Xiaotao's face was grave as she slowly nodded. An ultimate fire spirit master at Spirit King level would utterly overwhelm her. Even as a spirit saint, she would be forced on the defensive before Liu Ying's suppression. Just as Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice subdued Ling Luochen, Liu Ying's ultimate fire would render Ma Xiaotao's flames useless and could incinerate her. How could this be? Wang Yan wiped his brow. Panic tugged at him. Their trump card, Ma Xiaotao, was thoroughly suppressed, and St. Freya's other members were dangerously strong. Worse, all 7 of St. Freya's competitors were under 15 and could return for the next All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy duel tournament, meaning they would be even stronger then. Who could stand against them later? Bang! A thunderous explosion shattered the tension. Liu Ying, wrapped in blazing flames, pushed off the ground. The recoil dug a deep pit beneath her. Like a burning meteor, the silver-white mech she wore tore through the air toward Chunling Academy's ice shield. Heat waves rolled from it in shimmering bands, and the mech's path seared the sky. The crowd held its breath. Lu Ying raised her right arm and clenched her fist. Flames on her knuckles compressed, the temperature spiking until the surrounding air shimmered, space itself trembling under the heat. The silver-white mech was like a miniature sun, warping the atmosphere wherever it passed. Rumble. The moment Lu Ying's fist struck the shield, a deafening roar rolled across the arena. Shockwaves radiated outward, kicking up dust and filling the air with choking smoke. Chunling Academy's ice shield melted like spring snow beneath the brutal heat. The earth-and-yellow shield nested inside it began to tremble and crack as if a seawall faced a catastrophic storm. Sparks exploded between the shield and the flames, lighting the arena as if daytime. Then the fire leapt, and a towering pillar of flame shot skyward, forming a mushroom cloud. The punch struck with the force of a small nuclear blast. Chunks of the inner shield liquefied and vanished under the heat. The blast's shockwave hurled Chunling's 4 spirit shield spirit masters through the air. Scorching gusts roared across the arena. The 4 had to instantly activate spirit power shields to survive. The cost was massive, their spirit power draining like water through an open sluice. Spectators saw only a blinding flash, and then a massive fireball surging upward, painting the sky a fierce crimson as if a second sun had been lit. At that instant, Dan Heng sprang into action. A cyan whirlwind condensed in his palm and swept around Chunling's 4 spirit shield masters. With a flick, he expelled them from the arena. Left in the arena, exposed to that heat, they would have exhausted their spirit power and been burned to ashes. The flames died down. The silver-white mech walked steadily from the heat, leaving behind a bottomless pit dozens of meters across. The arena's memory metal had melted into a pool of glowing magma. Everyone stared in stunned silence. Lu Ying had unleashed such devastating force with a single punch. Even more shocking was that the girl who had seemed soft and innocent could be so ferocious in battle. Guyue and San Yueqi watched Chunling's side with a faint, involuntary pity. Perhaps it would have been better if others had taken the initiative. Lu Jingming had insisted Lu Ying strike first. In St. Freya's 7-person team, every time Lu Ying acted, the result was the most spectacular, most destructive. Clang! A flash of crimson light. Lu Jingming, spear in hand, lunged like a bolt of red lightning at Shensei. Their spears clashed with a shower of sparks. Snap out of it. The fight isn't over. Lu Jingming said in a calm, barely audible voice, but his spear left Shensei no room to breathe. Lu Jingming twisted his wrist and the spear blurred into dozens of afterimages, striking like a heavy raining barrage. Even with Fei Yuan's amplification, Shensei was outmatched in both speed and strength. On the other side, Anlengye had just recovered from the shock of Lu Ying's punch. Seeing her captain Shensei suppressed and the situation critical, she sent her frost giant bear charging at Lu Ying while forming an intricate string of hand seals. A snow-white sigil bloomed between her brows. Her hair went from azure to frosty white in an instant, her eyes turned icy pale. She had become a walking ice spirit. With a bellow from the frost giant bear, a savage cold rolled outward. Water vapor condensed into endless tiny ice crystals that glittered under the sun. But as that cold current neared Lu Ying, it met an invisible wall of heat and dissipated into mist. The bear was a feint, and Lenge's real play was herself. She gathered the cold and in a blink, spun it into a massive ice tornado that swept toward Lu Ying, carrying a devastating chill. This is a spirit bone ability. I didn't expect her to possess a spirit bone, and a head spirit bone at that, Guyue muttered. Lu Ying had just wiped out 4 opponents. Lu Jingming was busy with Shensei, so St. Freya's others hadn't needed to act. Every time Lu Ying moved, the spectacle had been the grandest. By the power, it's like a 10,000-year spirit bone, Jinshi said. She extended a hand and unleashed 4 golden streams that streaked like lightning toward Fei Yuan, who was in the air trying to support her captain. Fei Yuan turned pale. She sent her blazing tiger weaving, but under Jin Shi's precise control, the golden beams hunted like intelligent missiles, forcing Fei Yuan into frantic evasions. She had no energy left to help her teammates. Faced with a Spirit King-level ice tornado, Lu Ying did not flinch. Her flames burned hotter. She reached out both hands, and to Anlengye's disbelief, she grabbed the ice tornado. Bracing, Lu Ying tore the vortex clean in half. Whoosh! The crowd exploded. Tearing apart a powerful spirit ability with bare hands was beyond imagination. The shred tornado scattered into a sky of glittering ice shards, falling like a shower of snow across the arena. Boom! Before Enlenge could recover, a cannonball-like figure slammed into her frost giant bear. The bear's massive body disintegrated into a cloud of cold mist. With her mimetic spirit shattered, Enlenge paid a terrible price. Her face drained of color, a trickle of blood at the corner of her mouth. She glanced back. Shenche lay crumpled in a new pit, incapacitated. Fei Yuyan flailed uselessly in the air. The silver-white mech still radiated blinding heat like a war god. Enlenge knew then the fight was decided. A shadow approached. Lu Jingming, spear black against the white snow, had his tip pressed steadily to her snow-white throat. "Still fighting?" he asked calmly. Enlenge tasted the metallic tang in her mouth. She saw the scene. Fei Yuyan panicked, Shense down, the mech exuding lethal heat, and understood it was hopeless. Helplessly, she raised her hands. "We surrender." Chapter 128, Heaven and Earth Net. Although they were unwilling, losing to the powerful St. Freya Academy, the defending champion, was no disgrace. The audience outside the arena showed their appreciation with enthusiastic applause for the spectacular battle they'd witnessed. Round Robin Match 1, St. Freya Academy wins. Dan Heng's clear, resonant voice rang out, and on the large screen, the name Qianling Advanced Soulmaster Academy gradually dimmed, leaving St. Freya Academy's name blazing bright. Cheers rolled through the arena like crashing waves. Qianling's strong showing and Lu Ying's terrifying destructive power had opened many eyes and stirred the crowd into a frenzy. With this victory, St. Freya secured their first win in the group stage, earning 2 points and temporarily sitting atop the group. The round-robin schedule ran one match every other day. Their next match would be in 2 days. 2 days later, the first round of round-robin matches concluded across the tournament. Compared to the knockout phase, the round-robins were less intense. Many academies adjusted their tactics. Losing a single round-robin match didn't mean immediate elimination, so teams held back differently than they had in the do-or-die knockout rounds. Academies that felt their chances of advancing were slim, like Qianling, often went all out, but most treated the first round as a cautious opening rather than an all-out war. Fortunately, many contestants who had been injured in the knockout stage received timely and effective treatment with the advanced spirit tools provided by Haiyuan City and were able to compete in the round-robin matches. Even so, the general mood was deliberate restraint. Everyone knew this opening round was only a calm before the storm. As the competition progressed, the matches would predictably grow fiercer, possibly rivaling or exceeding the knockout stage's intensity. While Spirit Master Academies drew the most attention for their brilliant displays, Soul Conductor Academies also shone. Haiyuan City, as the tournament host, was the most developed center for spirit tools. Advanced spirit tools were commonplace, and many high-tech spirit tool devices appeared in the arena. These demonstrations made a deep impression. Spirit tools' influence in the Spirit Master world was growing every day. Ningguang seized the commercial opportunity. While the tournament buzzed, she held a small auction each night through Kunyu Pavilion, specializing in spirit tools. Having returned to Haiyuan City for the competition, she personally took charge of its commercial operations, and her auctions soon became famous. Every night, the venue overflowed. Students and academies alike attended. Shrek Academy and Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy even came when they heard about it. Shrek sought to patch holes in their lineup. Some of their main team members were absent or still recovering, so they hoped to buy powerful spirit tools to boost their substitutes. Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy came hunting for Ms. Herda's creations. Kunyu Pavilion's links to Haiyuan City made that likely, and Miss Herda was legendary in the spirit tool domain. Back on the field, St. Freya's second round-robin match was a brief affair. Heaven and Earth Net. Lan Susu and Lan Luoluo called in unison, activating their martial soul fusion skill. In an instant, countless blue strands of hair unfurled and spread like a vast, invisible net that filled the void realm, sealing every route of escape. Their opponent was caught off guard, bound tightly and unable to move, only able to struggle in vain. With that decisive technique, St. Freya won the second match without suspense. Their opponent that round had been a Soul Conductor Academy from the Dueling Empire, a fledgling school with limited strength. St. Freya sent Yegai together with the twin sisters. In the first match, Lu Jingming had put Guyu and Yegai forward. Guyu, a spirit king, held the line, while Yegai, a spirit ancestor, took on two spirit ancestors and achieved a resounding victory. In the second match, the Land Sisters, spirit elders nurtured intensively by St. Freya, handled a spirit elder and a spirit ancestor calmly, and their martial soul fusion finished the fight. With 2 wins, St. Freya didn't even have to bother with a third match per the tournament rules. As the event moved on, Shrek Academy also managed consecutive victories, but cracks in their facade were widening. Huo Yuhao's disguise was increasingly exposed. People discovered his 600,000-year spirit rings were fake, and that several of his teammates weren't spirit emperors. The highest genuine cultivation level on his team was only spirit ancestor. That unusual performance turned every academy's eyes toward Shrek. Despite having lost some of its former glory, Shrek Academy still carried centuries of reputation and prestige. Defeating them would be a prestigious feather in any academy's cap. They became a target for challengers, hoping to make a name for themselves. A scorching sun poured light onto the Bai Meng Hotel. Lu Jingming led his team out the entrance and headed towards Sea Abyss Eye, the venue for today's match, and their opponent had already been set. The beachfront was crowded and alive. Tourists in summer clothes sunbathed, kids laughed as they played in the shallows, and crowds gathered along the arena's edges. Today's atmosphere crackled with expectation. St. Freya Academy would face Dueling Royal Academy. The clash between the reigning champion and a top challenger had everyone's blood boiling. When Lu Jingming and his team stepped onto Sea Abyss Eye, the crowd erupted into thunderous cheers. Fans had arrived early, flags and glow sticks waving. St. Freya's dominant, invincible displays in previous matches had left an indelible impression, and everyone wanted to see them perform again. By custom, and by the privileges owed to the defending champion, St. Freya's match was scheduled first. As the start drew near, the stands grew louder and more fervent. This was the first true confrontation between top teams since the tournament began. Attention was fixed and eager. "Teacher Wang Yan, who do you think will win this match?" Xiao Xiao asked softly, eyes bright with curiosity as she looked over at Wang Yan. "St. Freya Academy," Wang Yan replied without hesitation. His voice conveyed certainty. He explained patiently, "Dueling Royal Academy is strong, but they're still a bit short of St. Freya. In a match that offers 2 promotion spots, they won't reveal their trump cards or drag St. Freya into a fight to the bitter end." Beibei and the others listened and nodded in agreement. They, too, believed Dueling would lose, but they were curious how far Dueling might push St. Freya, and how much of St. Freya's strength would be forced into the open. Lu Ying, in particular, was a topic of hushed conversation. Everyone wondered how much of her destructive power she would show. Chapter 29, 4th Spirit Ability, Heavenly Judgment Spear. Round Robin, Group 1 match, St. Freya Academy versus Dueling Royal Academy. Both teams enter the arena. Dan Heng's calm voice, amplified by the Spirit broadcast system, rolled through the arena and sent the crowd's roar to a fresh peak. Lu Jingming stood, glanced at Robin and the others, gave a slight nod, and led his teammates out of the lounge onto the floating platform. They rose onto the competition stage together. At the same time, Dueling Royal Academy's team, led by their captain, strode confidently toward the stage. Where St. Freya's lineup leaned female, Dueling Royal had 2 females and 5 males. Their captain was a tall, lean young man who planted himself in front of Dan Heng and fixed a torch-like gaze on Lu Jingming. A strange light flashed through his eyes before he said in a deep voice, "You're strong, but we're not to be underestimated." There was an unmistakable edge of rivalry in his words. Lu Jingming's lips lifted into a composed, confident smile. "I know. Then give me everything you've got." Solitary Bamboo Sword, captain of Dueling Royal, visibly darkened at that. He felt a sting in the challenge and resented it. He examined Lu Jingming as if trying to etch the man's face into memory, then announced, "Dueling Royal Advanced Spirit Master Academy, Solitary Bamboo Sword." His introduction carried a hint of arrogance. Saint Freya Academy, Lu Jingming. Lu Jingming replied tersely and with quiet strength. Solitary bamboo sword forced a tight smile. Please give me your guidance, he said, polite on the surface but coiled with restrained energy. No problem, Lu Jingming chuckled, cool and unruffled. Solitary bamboo sword's face tightened. A cold light flickered in his eyes. When his gaze passed over Robin, he felt a small twitch at his mouth. Robin was adored by the crowd. He didn't want to be jeered for offending her, so he resolved to be careful in the fight. Both sides, step back and prepare, Dan Heng announced, seemingly unconcerned by the tension between the captains. As referee and a Haiyuan city native, he knew Saint Freya's strength firsthand. Dueling Royal was no pushover, but it was not on the same level as Saint Freya in his estimation. Lu Jingming, too, had studied Dueling Royal in detail. The spread of the simulated universe had given him deep access to the continent's spirit master data. As that database grew, so would his advantage. Dueling Royal Academy roster, Lu Jingming's mind cataloged. Captain Solitary Bamboo Sword, level 57 attack type Spirit King, wielder of the purple blazing bamboo spirit. Vice Captain Qian Yuan, level 53 attack type Spirit King with the Dreadclaw Bear Spirit. The Team Core Xiao Feng, level 54 control type Spirit King with the rare mental spirit Mystifying Pearl. Qi Hengyu, a level 52 defense type Spirit King. Han Linger, a level 51 agility attack Spirit King. The two spirit ancestors were Tang Nunyu, a support type, and Qing Feng, a control type. 5 Spirit Kings and 2 Spirit Ancestors. No wonder they'd been a top 8 team before. They were dangerous. Match start, the horn sounded. Dan Heng was gone from the stage in an instant. He moved like a gust of wind, too fast to follow with the eye. Boom! At that signal, Lu Jingming, Gu Yue, and Robin released their spirits at once. Scarlet lightning braided over Lu Jingming's frame, while a black spear condensed from the void realm in his hands, its shaft flowing with a dark, liquid light. Around Gu Yue, several glowing spheres in different colors floated and circled, and 5 spirit rings shone along her body, each radiating significant power. Robin completed her transformation in a flash. Explosive flames burst into being around her like a miniature sun. The air warped from heat, the arena's temperature spiking. The stage had become a furnace. It was clear the 3 would be the principal attackers. Let's start with a greeting. Lu Jingming's smile was confident. The 4th spirit ring on his body flared a deep black, and the black abyss spear in his hand took on an eerie luster. In an instant, the long spear became a pitch-black lance of light that seemed to devour illumination itself. Ambient light pulled toward it as if by gravity, making the spear exude a death-like aura that raised the hairs on the back of one's neck. Defend. Solitary Bamboo Sword's pupils narrowed. The aura alone spoke of devastation. If Lu Jingming unleashed this, Dueling Royal's ranks could be shredded. But the 2 teams were separated by hundreds of meters. There was no time to close the distance. The only choice was to hold the line. Qi Hengyu, the defense Spirit King, reacted instantly. As Solitary Bamboo Sword called the command, Qi Hengyu hefted his arm and a massive metal shield manifested. A 2-meter-tall, nearly 1-meter-wide Vajra shield, broader at the top and tapering at the bottom like a small fortress. Even with his strong build, Qi Hengyu had to bend to lift it. He slammed the shield into the ground, and his 5th spirit ring flashed with a pulsing black light. The Vajra shield moved as if alive. The metal flowed and multiplied, splitting into countless small shields that interlocked into an unbreakable silver great wall, a bulwark to protect his comrades. That was his 5th spirit ability, a 10,000-year spirit ability, Vajra Fortress. Even so, the Dueling Royal members weren't complacent. Lu Jingming was a 5-ring Spirit King with a heaven-defying ring setup. The 10,000-year ability he'd initiated held terrifying potential. So while Qi Hengyu erected the metal barrier, 2 teammates rapidly joined to augment the defense. Tang Nunyu completed her spirit manifestation at once. Her ears sprouted soft fur, and her form filled out. A round, cute face replaced the delicate human one. But appearances were deceiving. She did not invite underestimation. She released her 3rd spirit ability, a green radiance concentrated in her palms and transformed into a precise beam that enveloped Qing Feng. Tang Nunyu's spirit was a raccoon, and as a support type, her ability could significantly enhance a companion's spirit effects. Under that enhancement, Qingfeng activated his fourth spirit ability. A faint yellow glow pulsed beneath his feet, and the ground trembled. Spikes of earth burst up like bamboo shoots after a rain, surrounding the Vajra fortress and forming another defensive layer. Thick earthen walls rose to reinforce the shield, creating a three-dimensional fortification. With two spirit ancestors and one spirit king combining defenses, the barrier was terrifyingly resilient, so solid that even a spirit emperor's blow would struggle to break it in a single strike. Ready? Then take this, fourth spirit ability, Heavenly Judgment Spear. Lu Jingming stopped channeling, and the black abyss spear in his hand shuddered as if drawing its last reserve. Then he hurled it. The spear became a black meteor and shot forward with unimaginable speed. Whoosh! The spear tore through space like a falling star. Wherever it passed, light bent and warped, as if a miniature black hole trailed in its wake. The arena fell deathly silent. Every eye tracked that streak of darkness, every heartbeat lodged in throats, time seeming to hold its breath as the black spear cut toward its target. Chapter 130, Death Star Overload. Boom! A deafening explosion tore through the arena as a black sun slowly formed over the battleground. A terrifying shockwave radiated from the point where the black light spear had struck, whipping up a hurricane that swept the whole field. The impact was so great that the arena's spatial barrier itself rippled, as if it might tear. In the dazzling black light, the defensive line of metal shields was shredded like paper. The metal disintegrated into 1,000 fragments and was swallowed by the void, disappearing as if it had never existed. When the black sun finally faded, the supposedly impregnable metal fortress was gone, leaving only a huge crater rimmed with traces of lingering darkness that testified to the strike's power. A faint golden shield flickered around Ji Yingying, Qingfeng, and Tang Yunyu. An invincible shield, a one-time spirit tool, had protected their lives beneath the pitch-black sun. Without it, they would have been killed and the team eliminated. Even so, Ji Yingying was gravely hurt. He vomited blood, his face as white as paper, and lay motionless, unable to fight. His own spirit, the adamantite shield, had been swallowed and shattered by the black light, producing a brutal backlash. Roar! A dragon's cry shattered the brief silence. The crimson orb at Gu Yue's side flared and became a fiery dragon, roaring as it charged at Gu Zhujian. Heat waves rolled from the dragon's body, distorting the air like ripples on water. Even Ma Xiaotao, watching from beyond the arena, twitched at the sight. Her eyes went hollow, as if her confidence had been shaken. Gu Yue's flames weren't quite as scorching as Lu Ying's, but they still surpassed Ma Xiaotao's Phoenix True Fire, enough to leave her unsettled. Fifth spirit ability, Bamboo Sword descends. Gu Zhujian didn't dare take chances. The black fifth spirit ring on him flared, and a massive purple bamboo sword fell from the sky, crackling with sword chi, slashing through space toward Gu Yue's fire dragon. At the same moment, Xiao Feng of Douling Royal Academy, clutching the white misty sky orb, activated his spirit rings. Purple light poured from his hand and spread over more than half the arena. Within that haze, everything blurred and shimmered, as if viewers had stepped into a dream. The Douling Academy members used the cover to conceal themselves. Lu Ying's third spirit ring pulsed black and red. A ring of crimson light swept the field, and inside the purple concealment, small, crimson flame marks bloomed above several figures. Lu Ying's third spirit ability, Dead Star Overload, had taken effect. The ability grafted a fire weakness onto those struck. Regardless of their natural attribute, they would become vulnerable to fire and be marked so the attacker could lock onto them. Her mark snapped onto the dueling group hidden in the misty sky orb. Without hesitation, Lu Ying blurred into a streak of flame and tore toward Xiao Feng like a meteor. Xiao Feng's face drained of color. He had no idea how Lu Ying had found him through his concealment. Protect me. There was no time for puzzlement. He couldn't possibly take a hit from Lu Ying. As a control system spirit master, a single blow would collapse him. He sent out a desperate plea to his teammates. Vice Captain Qian Yuan immediately responded, releasing his spirit attachment. His arms morphed into two monstrous bear claws, and he crossed them over his chest, stepping forward to shield Xiao Feng. In seconds, his height surged. He towered nearly 3 meters tall. The bear claws ended in 5 massive, razor-sharp talons, exuding a cold, metallic sheen. Qianyuan's spirit, the Terror Claw Bear, a subordinate of the dark gold Terror Claw Bear, carried a trace of its superior's bloodline. Its power rivaled that of top-tier spirits. Boom! Lu Ying's ignited iron fist, driven by kinetic fury, slammed into Qianyuan's crossed arms. The air shattered in concentric cracks like a spiderweb under the blow. Qianyuan went flying like a colliding train, his body hurled backward with no chance to resist. He struck Xiaofeng, who was standing behind him. The two tumbled through the air. At that instant, golden invincible shields flared around both men. Bang! Two dull, heavy thuds rang out as Qianyuan and Xiaofeng were pinned by invisible, oppressive force into the faint but solid spatial barrier created by Lu Ying's strike, embedded there and hanging helplessly. The sight was almost surreal. Han Linger, who'd been focused on the fight, froze, mouth agape as if witnessing the impossible. She watched a silver-white mecha, cold and metallic, advance through the dust. Fear clenched her heart and she began to run, panic driving her steps. Tang Nunyu moved to release her spirit ability to help Captain Gu Zhujian against Gu Yuo, but she was a beat too slow. Lu Jingming appeared before her in an instant, expression calm. He extended a pale forefinger, black and red lightning flickering at its tip. He tapped Tang Nunyu's glabella. A fierce, invisible mental shockwave laced with that lightning surged through her. Her eyes rolled back, and she slumped, falling into instant sleep. Qingfeng saw it all and went pale. He turned to flee, but a black spear struck him square in the abdomen. A wave of mental force crashed over him. His vision dimmed, and he collapsed unconscious. Lu Jingming watched their collapse with satisfaction. What he'd just used on Tang Nunyu and Qingfeng was an experiment he'd refined, a fusion of powerful mental force, spear intent, and spirit power. It was an all-encompassing attack, physical impact, a direct strike to the soul, and a blow to the foe's will. The black and red lightning at his fingertip wasn't true disintegration lightning, but the materialized form of that fusion, an ability almost of his own making, born of his will, pushing against the rules of the world. By now, the match's outcome was plain to see. With only 3 fighters deployed, St. Freya Academy had decimated Douling Royal Academy in record time. Even those watching from afar felt the finality of it. Han Linger was running, but Lu Ying's first spirit ring flared. Raging flames spewed from the back of the silver mecha and propelled Lu Ying into 3 instant afterimages, 3 blaze dashes, so fast she was almost invisible. In a blink, she appeared before Han Linger. Blaze Dash, Lu Ying's first spirit ability, allowed 3 consecutive flame dashes, each increasing speed and striking power. She didn't speak, she simply threw a punch. Han Linger's face drained of blood. She activated her own invincible shield. Even if she guessed Lu Ying wouldn't kill her, the demonstrated power was too great to risk taking the blow lightly. Another invincible shield, Lu Jingming murmured, raising an eyebrow. Douling had come prepared. They'd equipped multiple members with the costly one-time invincible shield. It was an extravagant display of resources. Meanwhile, a green gale whirled across the arena as the green orb by Gu Yue flared. The gale amplified the fire dragon's aura. Under it, the dragon's power leapt several-fold. In an instant, it consumed Gu Zhujian's descending bamboo sword, leaving no trace. Gu Zhujian barely dodged the dragon breath. He glanced around at the elemental orbs at Gu Yue's side, then at Han Linger, hands up in surrender, and at Xiaofeng and Qianyuan, still hung in the barrier, immobilized. He couldn't help a tension in his mouth. How much time had passed? He'd exchanged only a few blows with Gu Yu, and his teammates were already unable to fight. We surrender. Gu Zhujian thought of the remaining matches and made a decisive choice. They still had hidden cards they'd planned not to play in this round, and with St. Freya Academy's terrifying display, even revealing everything would likely be futile. This was the group stage. 2 promotion slots remained. A wasted, bloody fight here would be unwise. Group 1 round robin. St. Freya Academy wins. Dan Heng reappeared in the center of the arena and announced the result in his flat, emotionless voice. The match had ended far too quickly. Everyone in the stands and the academies watching felt the same stunned disbelief. They'd expected a fierce battle between worthy rivals, but Douling had been swept aside. The entire sequence had been a storm, fast, decisive, and almost effortless looking. Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Master Academy and Shrek Academy exchanged grim looks. St. Freya Academy's strength far exceeded expectation. Lu Jingming and his two teammates had remained composed throughout, never seeming to unleash full power. 4 members of St. Freya still hadn't acted. The thought of them all going all out was chilling. Which academy could stand against such force? Liu Ying stood amid the scorched arena, flames licking from the back of her silver mecha. Her gaze swept over the downed opponents and the stunned crowd. Calm and unhurried, she made no move to gloat, only the embers clung to her like a halo, and the lingering scent of singed metal and ozone filled the air. Chapter 131, Snow Empress's Killing Intent. The competition at St. Freya Academy had finished, but the round-robin stage of the All-Continent Advanced Spirit Master Academy Soul Fighting Tournament pressed on. In the next set of matches, Shrek Academy met a formidable adversary, Zhengtian Academy. Zhengtian was no pushover. It boasted 3 Spirit Kings and 4 Spirit Ancestors, and had long been a contender for the top 8 in past tournaments. In this match, Shrek's true strength was put on full display. Every clash was brutally hard-fought. In the end, Shrek Academy eked out a victory, but only after a punishing battle. Bebe unleashed the power of the Light Holy Dragon, Shu Sanshi revealed his Black Tortoise Spirit, and Jiang Nan Nan used a collection of spirit tools Ningguang had prepared for her. The tools proved decisive at critical moments. Without those 3 powerhouse performances, Shrek would likely have lost. It was the toughest fight they had faced in the tournament so far. The rest of the team paid a heavy price. 4 members were nearly exhausted of origin chi. Both their bodies and spirits were grievously damaged. Had it not been for the miraculous healing spirit tools from Sea Abyss City, they would have struggled to continue. Still, the grit shown by Shrek's reserve members rekindled the fighting spirit in the veterans. Ma Xiaotao, and even Chen Zifeng and Gongyang Mo, who had been crippled in the fight, found new resolve. Watching their juniors give everything on the arena made it impossible to remain mired in self-pity. Huo Yuhao's performance that day drew attention as well. At a decisive moment, he called on the power of the Ice Empress, a strength belonging to a 100,000-year spirit beast, and many in the stands were stunned. Is that him? I feel Binger's aura on him, but he's only a lowly spirit grandmaster. How did he absorb Binger's spirit ring and spirit bone? Whispered some among the spectators. In a hidden corner of the Eye of the Sea Abyss, a white-haired woman stood watching. Graceful and coldly beautiful as an ice goddess, she was the Snow Empress. Her gaze fixed on Huo Yuhao, and a raw, unmistakable killing intent shone in her eyes, mixed with a faint current of puzzlement. She moved as if to spring. Not now, a teasing, playful voice murmured in her ear. It was Mobius. This is his territory. I won't interfere here. The Snow Empress's expression didn't change. She wasn't in a hurry. As long as she knew who held the Ice Empress and the spirit still lived, she would have chances. There was no need to act rashly. Heh, this is getting interesting. I look forward to what happens next, Mobius added, delight clear in her tone. She was intensely curious whether the Snow Empress could reclaim the Ice Empress, since the Ice Empress had voluntarily become Huo Yuhao's second spirit. With Shrek Academy's deep foundations, the still-living dragon god Douluo, and the sea god watching silently from the distant god realm, the outcome fascinated her. The Snow Empress frowned and replied coolly, "That's not for you to worry about." After several exchanges, she had come to expect Mobius's insufferable interest in other people's affairs, entertaining but vexing. While those private intrigues unfolded, the round-robin matches continued without pause. As the first groups completed their rounds in perfection, the tournament's shape grew clearer. Traditional powerhouses with deep roots and reputations began to pull ahead, and Shrek Academy, long a subject of both attention and skepticism, sent out its main lineup to prove itself. Ling Luochen was the first main team member to recover fully. When she stepped onto the arena, she was terrifyingly dominant, dispatching opponents with decisive superiority. Her performance not only restored Shrek Academy's prestige, but also shattered any hope rival schools had of taking advantage of Shrek's earlier injuries. The Academy's foundations were not to be underestimated. In the same bracket as Saint Freya Academy, aside from dueling Royal Academy, Most teams were no match for Qianling Advanced Spirit Master Academy. Some were even inferior. Saint Freya proceeded through its matches almost effortlessly. Yegai and the Lan sisters, Lan Susu and Lan Luoluo, gained valuable experience and improved markedly. Saint Freya finished the group stage unbeaten in 7 matches, securing first place and a spot in the top 16. Dueling Royal Academy took second with a 6-1 record and also advanced. With some groups settled and others still fighting, the academies that had clinched promotion enjoyed a rare 3-day respite. A Ming, Sister Ningguang, is holding a large Tianquan auction. Want to go? March 7th's eyes sparkled. She wasn't asking in earnest. She wanted to go. She didn't need anything in particular. She simply wanted to soak up the excitement. This auction was unlike the small sales they'd attended before. Ningguang had invited representatives from every participating academy and prepared 12 rare items. The scale and spectacle promised to be something special, and March 7th was eager to join the fun. Lu Jingming considered it. There were still a couple of days before the top 16 rounds. No pressing matters required them. Going to the auction would amuse March 7th and give the team a chance to support Ningguang. If March wants to go, we'll go, and if any of you want something, buy it. Don't worry, I'll reimburse you, he decided. He nodded to Ye Gai and the Lan sisters. The city lord's mansion had always covered the team's day-to-day expenses. The Tianquan auction was held in the Jade Chamber at the heart of Sea Abyss City, a building that epitomized classical Eastern elegance. The venue had 3 floors, the general area on the first floor, where anyone could enter for a fee of 100 gold coins, private rooms on the second floor for ordinary invitees, where most academies were seated, and the third floor, reserved for VIPs with special invitations. VIP guests were invariably powerful forces with deep backgrounds: Shrek Academy, Sun Moon Royal Spirit Tool Master Academy, Star Luo Royal Academy, and the like. Lu Jingming and his companions needed no invitation. The staff recognized them and led them to VIP room number 1. Inside, beside the graceful and dignified Ningguang, stood a surprisingly familiar figure. Lu Jingming's gaze landed on the golden-haired girl at Ningguang's side. Though he had seen many beauties, he couldn't help but stare. The girl was Zhang Nannan, widely regarded as the #1 beauty of Shrek Outer Court. Chapter 132, Shujuju, who turns her elbow outward. Although it was only an internal evaluation for Shrek Academy's outer court, Zhang Nannan's exquisite beauty and singular bearing drew people's eyes. Still, even her looks weren't enough to unsettle Lu Jingming. He glanced at her a beat longer than necessary, then politely averted his gaze. Sister Ningguang, thank you for all your efforts these past days. And this must be student Zhang Nannan. Welcome, Lu Jingming said with a smile. Ningguang had indeed worked hard to steady Sea Abyss City's economy. With the recent influx of people, her hand in keeping the city orderly had been indispensable. Lu Jingming also knew that Ningguang had recruited Zhang Nannan a long time ago. Ningguang's trip to Shrek City had been partly to establish the Jade Chamber and expand her business, and partly to attract talent. Students who made it into Shrek's outer court were either born to influential families or unusually talented. Zhang Nannan was clearly the latter. From a common family, she likely wouldn't have had a chance at Shrek Academy if she hadn't been born in Shrek City. When her mother fell ill, the academy offered no help. She had only herself to rely on. If Ningguang hadn't stepped in, she might have had to sell herself to the Xuanming sect to save her mother. Ningguang had also backed several other outer court students who later joined the Jade Chamber, students like Nanmen Yuner and Xie Huanyue, who might otherwise have been snapped up by Ning Tian of the 9 Treasure Glazed Tile sect. That sect's former glory had long faded. 10,000 years had passed since Ning Rongrong held sole ownership of the 9 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda. With no descendants, the sect had been reduced to the 7 Treasure legacy. The 7 Treasure Pagoda's owner could at best reach Spirit Saint level, far short of a titled Douluo, and a Spirit Saint's lifespan was much shorter than a titled Douluo's. The 9 Treasure Glazed Tile sect, once powerful enough to contend with the upper 3 sects, was now merely a shadow of itself. Still, it retained titled Douluo within its ranks, so it was not completely without power. "You're the captain of St. Freya Academy's team," Zhang Nannan blurted, astonished. She hadn't expected representatives from Saint Freya to show up here, and seeing how familiar they were with Sister Ningguang only deepened her surprise. Nan, let me introduce you properly. This is the City Lord of Sea Abyss City and the big boss behind the Jade Chamber, Ningguang said softly, smiling as she introduced him. Jiang Nan was stunned. She had seen Sea Abyss City's prosperity with her own eyes, but she never imagined its owner would be a young man around her age, the captain of Saint Freya Academy. There's no mysterious boss behind the scenes. Aren't you the boss of the Jade Chamber, Sister Ningguang? Lu Jingming replied, smiling. Ningguang tapped Lu Jingming's forehead with one finger in a familiar teasing gesture. What's mine is yours, so I suppose you could call yourself the boss, she replied, playful and intimate. Jiang Nan's cheeks flushed. She'd joked about being Ningguang's maid, and now she felt mortified at having sold herself. Watching the two of them, she was surprised to see this softer side of the decisive Ningguang. The intimacy between them was unexpected. She lowered her head shyly, embarrassed at the thought that Ningguang might repeat her joke. The glazed lamp filled the VIP room with a faint scent of agarwood, lending the space a dreamlike haze. Sister Ningguang, forget a Ming, March 7 murmured, looping an arm through Ningguang's. What treasures have you prepared for this auction? Ningguang's jade bracelets chimed softly as she tapped the gilded armrest. Little March is interested too? If you see something you like, I'll buy it for you. Forget it. Expensive auction stuff? I'd rather buy new clothes. March 7 stuck out her tongue, then skipped to a long table of pastries and exchanged a conspiratorial glance with Firefly, who was already sneaking a small cake. The two girls quickly reached a tacit agreement to share the treats. Lu Jingming and Robin kept Jiang Nan in conversation to prevent her feeling left out. Jiang Nan mentioned that Shrek Academy's group occupied VIP Room 3. Aside from Wang Dong, who despised spirit tools and hadn't shown up, everyone else was waiting there for the auction. Lu Jingming suspected sea god Tang San had whispered a hint into Wang Dong's spiritual consciousness. It seemed Tang San favored secrecy over innovation, something Lu Jingming found exasperating. Wang Dong had once eliminated hidden weapons in favor of suppressing spirit tools, and then passed down that attitude to his daughter. Tang San's ways were eye-opening. As they talked, the dome above them shimmered. A holographic projection bloomed into a brilliant curtain of light. A gilded platform rose, 12 crystal display cases rotating under soft halos. Welcome, distinguished guests, to the Tianquan auction, an ethereal voice announced. A young girl in a floor-length gilded gown appeared, ascending the platform. Golden silk embroidered with star luo patterns flowed with her steps. A miniature astrolabe glinted in her hair bun. Lu Jingming looked up in surprise. That smile, he knew it instantly. Shujuju. Ningguang chuckled. Thanks to a certain well-placed connection, she said. The chief auctioneer of Starlight Auction House isn't someone you can invite on a whim. Shujuju held a noble standing. Without the invitation in Lu Jingming's name, she likely wouldn't have agreed. The Tianquan Auction House wasn't Shujuju's Starlight Auction House. At least to some extent, they were rivals. Still, she had come to support the event, and that alone electrified the room. Contestants from other academies whispered, astonished that the Star Luo Empire's princess would condescend to host an auction. Her presence raised expectations for the evening. I am Auctioneer Juju. It is my honor to host tonight's auction. Distinguished guests, your time is precious. The Tianquan auction officially begins. Please welcome the first item, Shujuju said, smiling. The screen shifted, a spirit tool image rotating 360 degrees. Every angle could be seen, a cold, gleaming long blade etched with faint blue patterns. Shujuju's fingers traced the blade as text scrolled across the projection. An 8th grade melee spirit tool, the Tyrant Tiger Soul Refining Blade, forged by Mingde Hall. It carries the solidified spirit ability Tyrant Blade Slash, which boosts similar skills' power by 50%. What's more, she paused, her gaze lifting. It's forged from a spirit bone and has its own spirit power storage. Activating spirit abilities consumes only 1/3 the usual spirit energy. Although it's 8th grade, a spirit saint can wield it. Cross-level combat becomes effortless. The starting price is 600,000 gold coins, 5 minutes for viewing. Isn't that a jade chamber item? Lu Jingming asked Ningguang. Ningguang smirked. No, it's actually Princess Juju's contribution to the event. Wow, a Ming! You're incredible! March 7 applauded, impressed. Jiang Nanan looked at Lu Jingming in surprise. His connections to Princess Juju ran deep. Then she glanced around the VIP room, realizing with new amusement that among the cluster of girls, Lu Jingming was the only boy. The 5 minutes flashed by. Bidding numbers streamed up on the screen fast. Someone had already started. The price leapt to 1,600,000 gold. For an 8th grade melee spirit tool, that was steep, but auctions were about rare items and competitive bids. The buyer showed as from VIP Room 3. Shrek Academy had moved quickly. Of the Shrek students, only Dai Yaoheng would pay for such a blade. It matched his spirit perfectly. For the Duke White Tiger's mansion, that sum was trivial. Thank you to the distinguished guest who purchased the Tyrant Tiger Soul Refining Blade. Next, please welcome the second auction item, Shujuju announced. The projection changed. A dark red gem hovered in the light. Lu Jingming's face tightened at the sight. This is a mental attribute spirit gem that assists spirit masters in cultivating mental force, amplifies mental-type spirit abilities, and replenishes a spirit master's mental power when depleted. The starting price is 600,000 gold coins. 5 minutes for viewing, Shujuju said as the gem rotated to show every facet and its functions were detailed. Chapter 133, Chitty and Holy Armor. Ningguang, this gem. Lu Jingming's face tightened. What was Mobius up to? What did she plan to do with it? You know full well who commissioned me to auction it, Ningguang replied with a hint of resignation. Among the people Lu Jingming had called in, a few were always difficult to manage. Miss Herta was one, and Mobius was another. Lu Jingming rubbed the rim of his teacup somewhat nervously, brows knitting. If he had known, he wouldn't have handed that gem so casually to Mobius. Who knew she would put it up for auction? He lowered his eyes. A dark light flickered within them. He already had a rough idea of Mobius's intention. She had always acted without restraint and rarely consulted others, yet he also knew she wouldn't do anything to truly harm him. That was why he had turned a blind eye to many of her whims. After all, trying to control Mobius was easier said than done. Inside VIP Room No. 3 of the auction house, most of Shrek Academy's party had gathered. Yu Hao, bid on that gem. Ilyasfiel's voice suddenly echoed in Huo Yuhao's mental space, deep, powerful, and unmistakable. Huo Yuhao started, surprise flashing across his face. Ilyasfiel, do you know something about this gem? Ilyasfiel, who usually slept most of the time and rarely spoke, sounded fatigued. I don't know the gem's origin, but I can sense it would be useful for cultivating mental force, and it could help repair my divine sense. Though Ilyasfiel could not pinpoint where the gem came from, the feeling that it would benefit both him and Huo Yuhao was unmistakable. Huo Yuhao's eyes brightened and his spirit stirred. Okay, I'll ask Teacher Wang Yan to buy it. Improving his mental force mattered, but more crucially, this might help Ilyasfiel recover his divine sense. No matter the cost, he couldn't afford to miss it. He looked at Wang Yan with eager expectation. Wang Yan nodded without hesitation and began operating the spirit tool console. He had been entrusted with Shrek Academy's funds that were meant to support disciples. If the item helped Huo Yuhao, he could not reluctantly pass it up. After a fierce bidding war, Wang Yan secured the mental-type spirit gem for 1.8 million gold coins. For a cultivation-assisting gem that enhanced mental force, the price was steep but reasonable. Its precise effects remained unclear. The auction continued. Fixed-mount spirit tools, spirit bones, rare spirit tool materials, each lot fetched staggering sums. The next item comes from Miss Herta herself. I'm sure it will attract every esteemed guest, Shujuju announced, her voice carrying a beguiling charm that caught everyone's attention. In box number 4, Xiao Hongqian and his entourage sat up. They had paid little attention to the earlier Mingde Hall offerings. Now, their interest snapped to the spirit tool display. The screen shifted and revealed an opulent suit of golden armor. Streamlined and majestic, its surface was patterned with lava-like streaks that resembled flowing flames. Phoenix feather-shaped blade wings extended from the joints, giving off both menace and allure. The helmet, carved into the head of a phoenix, bore crimson crystal eyes that burned like coals. A cape of condensed flames fluttered behind it, radiating authority and dominance. A rank 9 spirit tool, Chidian Holy Armor, Shujuju intoned, forged from the torso bone of a 10,000-year blazing flame bird and top-grade materials, molten star steel. Its defensive strength rivals a titled Douluo. The armor integrates a nirvana circulation system that absorbs incoming attack energy and converts it into stored power. On its back, a blazing feather propulsion array houses 108 microjet nozzles, granting top speeds comparable to a Super Douluo. And its solidified spirit ability, Chidian Judgment, charges in 3 seconds and can unleash a strike equivalent to a Super Douluo's full-power blow. This Chidian Holy Armor can be worn by a Spirit Douluo and will immediately grant the wearer the combat power of a titled Douluo. Viewing time is 20 minutes. Starting bid, 10 million gold coins. Shujuju's words landed like thunder. In VIP room number 3, Ma Xiaotao's eyes shone with desire. "Teacher Wang Yan, buy it," she demanded, voice steady and resolute. Wang Yan's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He would never have committed such a sum for most people. Tens of millions of gold coins was not trivial, and he had no unilateral right to spend it. But Ma Xiaotao was different. She was Yan Shao's disciple, a prime cultivation prospect for the Sea God Pavilion and potentially its future master. She had a legitimate claim to Shrek Academy's resources. In VIP room number 4, Xiao Hongchen pressed forward as well. "Elder Ma, buy it! The Hongchen family will cover it." Elder Ma inclined his head. Even without the offer, he intended to compete. The armor came from Miss Herta's hand and represented the closest approach to humanoid spirit tool design. The research value alone made it indispensable for Mingde Hall. The 20-minute public viewing was as much to admire craftsmanship as to give bidders time to marshal funds. When the viewing period ended, Shujuju announced the start of bidding. The price climbed rapidly, 15 million, 20, and kept soaring. Lu Jingming watched the display with a faint smile. This Chidian Holy Armor had been a casual piece Miss Herta made using leftover materials while creating a spirit tool for Changli. Compared to the Lihuang armor Changli wore, it was inferior, but among rank 9 artifacts, it still ranked near the top. If this wasn't the finale, what kind of surprise did Ningguang have left? The bidding came down to VIP room number 3 and VIP room number 4. In the end, when the price reached the staggering 50 million gold coins, VIP room number 4 reluctantly withdrew. Xiao Hongchen and the others looked crestfallen. They'd come a long way and already spent heavily on Ms. Herta's earlier offerings. They simply had no more ready funds. Mingde Hall was seldom short of money, but they'd been caught unprepared this time. They hadn't expected Kunyu Pavilion to put such a top-tier piece up for auction, and continuing the bid would have forced them to sell critical spirit tools, something they dared not risk given the competition ahead. With heavy hearts, they watched Shrek Academy secure the Chidian Holy Armor. At least the armor required a Spirit Douluo's cultivation to wear, so it likely wouldn't appear on the field in the near future, a small consolation. Even Shujuju was surprised. She had hoped the armor might sell for 30 million. Miss Herta's reputation had driven the price far higher than she'd imagined. It left her a little helpless. Her next item, though valuable, would likely struggle to compete. "Esteemed guests, the second-to-last lot of tonight's auction," Shujuju announced. "Please take a look." A crystal-clear spirit bone filled the screen. A left arm bone, entirely emerald green, a verdant halo pulsing around it like flowing liquid. The surface glittered with countless crystalline inclusions, like nuggets of jade. It was magnified for viewing. Up close, the bone looked otherworldly, precious and rare. An enraged cry rang out in Huo Yuhao's mental space. The Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion inside burst in fury. "Bastard!" It spat, its anger suffusing the mental realm. Shujuju's tone grew grave as she described the piece. "This is a left-arm spirit bone, ice attribute, from a super spirit beast of the far north, the Ice Jade Scorpion. Everyone knows the Ice Jade Scorpion's reputation. This spirit bone retains the creature's ultimate ice attribute. If an ice attribute spirit master absorbs it successfully, their attribute will be greatly enhanced and could even break through to ultimate ice. The bone is over 50,000 years old and carries a solidified spirit ability called Ice Blast, a very rare ice attribute ability. But it's not without danger. The bone's requirements for absorption are exceptionally high. A failed absorption can be life-threatening. Shujuju's careful presentation left no doubt. This spirit bone was nearly perfect, ancient from a super spirit beast, and bearing a solidified ability. For ice attribute spirit masters, it was a dream treasure. The risk of absorption, to most present, was an acceptable hazard. The Ice Jade Scorpion was one of the far north's overlords. Its clan chief, the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, ranked 8th among the 10 great vicious beasts. For anyone cultivating ice power, a spirit bone from such a beast was almost irresistible. Xiao Hongchen, in VIP room number 4, stared at the screen, unable to look away. Ling Luochen, in VIP room number 3, was equally transfixed, his eyes locked onto the emerald arm. Both understood what this bone could mean for an ice-type practitioner, and both felt their hearts quicken as the auction for this coveted relic loomed. Chapter 134, Stigmata, Ban Mountain Ape. Student Ling Luochen, what about this? Wang Yan looked embarrassed as he turned to Ling Luochen. He had just spent almost all his funds buying the Chitian Holy Armor for Ma Xiaotao. Given how rare this spirit bone was, its opening bid would likely start in the tens of millions. Ling Luochen was not Ma Xiaotao, and he had no authority to spend academy funds on her behalf. Ling Luochen's eyes dimmed briefly. She felt regret, but she understood Wang Yan's predicament. I understand, Teacher Wang Yan. Let's let it go, she said. At that moment, Huo Yuhao spoke up. Teacher Wang Yan, Senior Ling Luochen, this spirit bone comes from an ice jade scorpion. If I'm not mistaken, it can only be absorbed by an ultimate ice spirit master. Other ice-aligned spirit masters trying to refine it will fail. Huh? Huo Yuhao, is that true? Wang Yan and the others turned their gaze toward him, suspicion in their eyes. You know my second spirit is an ice jade scorpion, so I can confirm ordinary ice spirit masters can't absorb this spirit bone, Huo Yuhao said firmly. Ah, what should we do? Tell the auction house? Xiao Xiao asked hesitantly. Of course we should tell them. Ma Xiaotao replied without hesitation. She knew how important Kunyu Pavilion's reputation was to Haiyuan City and didn't want to see it tarnished. That's right. Kunyu Pavilion is a Haiyuan industry. Don't forget, San Yuichi, Yegei, and Dan Heng, who helped us, are all from Haiyuan City, Ling Luochen added gravely. Bei Bei and the others all nodded. They were not ungrateful. All right, I'll inform the auction staff immediately. Wang Yan stood and pressed the call button, summoned an attendant, and asked them to notify the auctioneer. In VIP room number 2, Shujuju stared at Xu Jiawei in bewilderment after hearing the news. Imperial Brother, Shrek Academy says this Ice Jade Scorpion Spirit Bone is flawed. It can only be absorbed and refined by an ultimate Ice Spirit Master. Xu Jiawei frowned. After a moment, he said, Huo Yuhao is an ultimate ice. That would explain why the others failed. It all makes sense now. I'll go find Ningguang, Shujuju said, flustered, and hurried to VIP room number 1. She had brought the spirit bone out to elevate Kunyu Pavilion's prestige. If their good intentions had caused scandal, she didn't know how she'd face Lu Jingming. Calm down, Juju. It's not a big deal. Lu Jingming smiled and comforted her, then looked to San Yuichi. If the spirit bone requires a specific spirit master to absorb it, let the one who can absorb it buy it. Me? San Yuichi blinked and pointed at herself in surprise. Lu Jingming rolled his eyes. How could she forget her 6 phases ice spirit? In this world, her spirit qualified as ultimate ice. Oh right, I'm ultimate ice! San Yuichi suddenly remembered, expression clearing. Robin and the others shook their heads in amusement, while Shujuju and Jiang Nanan stared, astonished. They hadn't expected the lively, pink-haired girl to be an ultimate ice spirit master. Relieved, Shujuju exhaled inwardly. She'd been afraid the issue would damage Kunyu Pavilion's reputation. Now it seemed salvageable. Thankfully, the problem had been caught before the item was sold. 20 minutes passed. Huo Yuhao and the others had assumed Kunyu Pavilion would withdraw the Ice Jade Scorpion Spirit Bone after the warning. To their surprise, the auction continued. Next up was the Ice Jade Scorpion left arm bone, opening at 10 million gold coins. Bidding shot up like a rocket. VIP number 4 kept pushing the price and quickly reached 15 million. Just as everyone thought the bidding had peaked, VIP room number 1 made a sudden decisive move, shouting out a staggering 30 million. The entire venue fell silent. That absolute price crushed all competition. Everyone withdrew, including the representatives from Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy. Meng Hongqin watched the stage with regret. She liked the Ice Jade Scorpion left arm bone, but 30 million far exceeded its true value. It wasn't worth burning so many resources, especially with the grand finale item still to come. Usually, a level 9 spirit tool by Miss Herta plus this spirit bone would be auction highlights, yet this was only a prelude. Anticipation for the final item soared. Distinguished guests, what comes next is the grand finale of today's auction. Shuju's voice carried an astonished tone. Even she had been shocked when she learned what the final item was. On the display, a blood-red rhomboid crystal rose onto a stand. Inside the crystal, a vague creature seemed to be sleeping, emanating an elusive aura. Frankly, the value of this item is beyond measure, Shujuju said seriously, and everyone snapped to attention. From her demeanor, they could tell this was extraordinary. 100,000-year stigmata, Ban Mountain Ape. Starting price, 100 million gold coins. When Shujuju announced it, the venue erupted. People whispered, trying to understand what a stigmata could be and how it could be worth as much as a 100,000-year soul bone. In VIP room number 1, Lu Jingming looked at the crystal and the corner of his mouth twitched. From the moment he'd seen it, he'd had a suspicion. When Shujuju named the item, he was nearly certain this was Mobius's work. Others might not know the secret of a stigmata, but he did. Sigh. This was bound to appear sooner or later. An auction is a good opportunity, Lu Jingming thought, feeling resigned. Mobius understood his boundaries well. Her moves often surprised him, but they remained within acceptable limits. Shujuju continued. Many of you may be unfamiliar with stigmata. I admit I was too, until I dug into the details. This 100,000-year stigmata, Ban Mountain Ape, was painstakingly crafted by a genius who extracted the genes and soul information of a 100,000-year Ban Mountain Ape. Immense resources were invested. Its most astonishing effect. After a spirit master absorbs it, they can obtain at least one 100,000-year spirit ring. Note the words, at least one. There's no need to hunt spirit beasts, and the requirements on the spirit master are much lower. Most spirit Douluo can assimilate this stigmata and secure a coveted 100,000-year spirit ring. Her words hit the crowd like a bomb. How is that possible? Wang Yan stood and stared at the crystal. In the display, the sleeping creature looked distinctly ape-like. In his spirit space, Huo Yuhao hurriedly asked Ilyasville, Elder Ilyasville, can this really work? Ilyasville nodded slightly, awed. Theoretically, yes. Studying this world's cultivation reveals new directions. From the existence modes of the Tianmeng iceworm and the ice jade scorpion, we've found fresh possibilities. If developed, perhaps spirit rings could be obtained without hunting spirit beasts. This world hides remarkable talents. Miss Herta, the creator of the simulated universe, and the genius behind the stigmata, both are extraordinary. It makes one curious how far minds here can reach. Shujuju pressed on. The wonder doesn't stop there. Because this stigmata is derived from a 100,000-year Ban Mountain Ape, the spirit master who refines it not only gains a 100,000-year spirit ring, but also receives a boost to strength and defense comparable to the Ban Mountain Ape. Even a tool spirit master could temporarily gain the strength and defense of a beast spirit master. Even more astonishing, when a spirit master deeply resonates with the stigmata, it has the potential to awaken, granting control over gravity, the Ban Mountain Ape's unique ability. It's effectively like gaining an entirely new spirit, although this spirit can't take spirit rings. Shujuju's voice brimmed with admiration. Even she, with broad knowledge of the field, was awestruck. She hadn't expected Kunyu Pavilion to reveal such a world-shaking treasure. If not for knowing the person behind Kunyu, she might have urged her imperial brother to buy it at all costs. The room fell into stunned silence. Then, Shujuju dropped the final bomb. According to the developer's data, if the stigmata awakens and integrates with a spirit master's bloodline and soul, it can be inherited. Descendants could be born with an innate stigmata and might directly awaken the Ban Mountain Ape spirit. Her words were like a stone in a still pond that sent shockwaves through the venue. Spirit legacy was the ultimate prize in this world. A stigmata that could found a lineage capable of passing down a top-tier spirit. What greedy eyes did not light up at that thought? Everyone stared at the blood-red crystal, desire sprouting like weeds in their hearts. Chapter 135, Stigmata Awakening. Just as greed had nearly blinded everyone in the auction hall, a heavy pressure fell over the room, and a cold sword intent hung in the air. The pressure and the blade's presence sobered the crowd instantly. The fog of avarice cleared. When the sword intent faded, everyone realized their backs were soaked in cold sweat. Secretly, many thanked the threat in their hearts. If not for that warning, someone might have made an impulsive move and been cut down in an instant. A 100,000-year stigmata, Ban Mountain Ape. Starting bid, 100 million gold coins. 20 minutes for viewing. Distinguished guests, use your time wisely. Shu Juju announced. The doors of the private rooms burst open and people hurried out of the Tianquan auction house. No one needed to be told twice. They were scrambling to raise funds for the coming fight. In private room No. 4, Elder Ma's pipe clattered to the floor. He didn't care. Quick, everyone, bring out all your spirit tools, he barked. He was ready to exchange every spirit tool for gold, even his natal one if necessary. For the soul conductors of the Sun-Moon Empire, this stigmata was too important to pass up. Soul conductors, having devoted themselves to spirit tool research and usage, generally had weaker bodies and spirit power than traditional spirit masters. Even after breaking through to become a titled Douluo, they often couldn't withstand the power of a 100,000-year spirit ring. Even if they hunted such spirit beasts, they could not absorb the rings. But this stigmata was different. Because a spirit Douluo could absorb it, a soul conductor, despite weaker constitution, might, upon reaching the titled Douluo level, use the stigmata to obtain a powerful 100,000-year spirit ring. It could raise a soul conductor's upper limit. Elder Ma felt the temptation as if the stigmata were calling to him. And that wasn't all. The stigmata promised physical improvement, a defensive boost like the Ban Mountain Apes, gravity manipulation, and a bloodline legacy after stigmata awakening. Each benefit gnawed at Elder Ma's restraint. Their family's legacy spirit was the big-headed ape, an advanced spirit. This stigmata might even trigger its evolution. The Sun-Moon Empire spirit pool was already weaker than the original Douluo Three Kingdoms. Top-tier spirits were scarce. The stigmata's heaven-defying promise radiated a fatal allure. If not for that sword intent, Elder Ma might have acted rashly, even by force. They also suspected the stigmata's developer might be Ms. Herta. After all, her simulated universe had shown extraordinary power. This could very well be another of her creations. In private room number 1, Gu Yue stood stunned, eyes bright with hope as she stared at the blood-red crystal. She wasn't particularly moved by the other effects. The chance to obtain a spirit ring without hunting a spirit beast was the real lure. That possibility gave hope to the spirit beast race. She wanted to know how the stigmata was made. Before she could ask, Lu Jingming answered coolly. Mobius made it. The raw materials were the Ban Mountain Ape's genetic and soul information, plus other components, and you don't need to have killed the spirit beast to extract them. Gu Yue froze. Of course, she should have guessed. With Lu Jingming's inscrutability and Miss Herta's capabilities, her own identity had likely already been exposed. How much Lu Jingming knew, she didn't know, but since he hadn't exposed her, she let out a quiet breath of relief. Thank you, she murmured. Lu Jingming's mouth twitched into a smile. If you want to thank me, be more practical. He tapped his lips teasingly. Gu Yue flushed and snapped. Dream on. She felt both annoyed and embarrassed. He usually seemed so sharp. Why act like a fool now? If he had asked her privately, she might have been tempted, but not in front of everyone. Nearby, some listeners were puzzled, some thoughtful, some amused. In private room number 5, 2 burly figures loomed like iron pillars. The 20-minute viewing period had quietly passed, and the auction had begun. A big, broad-shouldered man looked anxious. Normally, he would have simply snatched the item, but with Snow Moon Douluo present, even the reckless body sect didn't dare act. Snow Moon Douluo's killing intent wasn't empty talk. Anger her, and you could indeed be cut down by a single sword. No matter the cost, we'll get this stigmata, the burly man vowed. The young lord's talent is exceptional. If he fuses with this, he might reach a golden-level awakening. Whoever wins it, once they leave Haiyuan City, will take it. A cold glint lit his narrow eyes as he planned the next move. Bidding on the spirit tool display leapt wildly. When it finally stopped at 150 million gold coins, the auction house fell deathly quiet. A murmur swept through like a tide. That price far exceeded what anyone had expected, higher even than the rumored value of a 100,000-year spirit bone. Although no one had seen such a bone openly auctioned, they all knew this stigmata was rare. The fact that it had appeared now meant many still hesitated. If Kunyu Pavilion had advertised it widely, the final price might easily have reached 200 million. Among the forces present, the Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy was immensely wealthy. Behind it stood the even richer Mingde Hall. Even Shrek Academy, though it owned a city and paid no taxes, couldn't easily match them financially. Wang Yan stared at the last bid and sighed. If he hadn't earlier spent 50 million on Ma Xiaotao's Chidian holy armor, he would have kept bidding. As a scholar devoted to spirit research, the stigmata's appeal had nearly driven him to consider embezzling academy funds, but he believed the elders would forgive him. To trade money for such a rare treasure would be worth it. 100,000-year spirit bones were legendary and rarely traded, and this stigmata's value exceeded them. Everyone understood that Kunyu Pavilion's auction was also a publicity stunt. Haiyuan City likely had more stigmata hidden away. Still, despite their covetousness, no one acted rashly. Haiyuan City was powerful. It wasn't a pushover. Anyone tempted would first have to weigh their own strength. Back in private room number 4, Xiao Hongchen and the others breathed easier when the price held. 150 million was their limit. To raise that amount, they'd sold most of their spirit tools. Elder Ma had painfully parted with all his precious items except his natal spirit tool. Among those sold were several level 9 spirit tools he'd painstakingly crafted. Without them, his strength had even dropped a notch. Elder Ma, Xiao Hongchen said after a moment's thought, after the auction, take the stigmata straight back to Mingde Hall. With Snow Moon Douluo here in Haiyuan City, we're safe for now, but once we leave, danger follows. Don't bring it with a big escort. Send it back quietly. Elder Ma nodded. Exactly. Keep a low profile. Wait here until I return. Xiao Hongchen and the others agreed. As soon as the auction ended, they would hide in the Bai Meng Hotel until things cooled down. Lu Jingming smiled faintly in private room number 1. 150 million. It was expected. Mobius's method of creating stigmata was unusual. When extracting a spirit beast's genes and soul information, if the beast was alive, its cooperation was required. If it was dead, that wasn't necessary. The rest of the materials were mostly Honkai energy and rare heaven and earth treasures. Aside from the Honkai energy, the cost of those treasures amounted to only about 1 million gold coins. That meant one stigmata fetched enormous profit, though such margins were mainly for 100,000-year stigmata. Stigmata made from 100,000 or 10,000-year sources were far less valuable. Theoretically, a spirit master could absorb unlimited stigmata, but in practice, the strain on one's mental force was extreme. Most spirit masters reached their limit after absorbing 3. Since one stigmata could yield more than one spirit ring, 3 stigmata were generally enough. Stigmata awakening, however, was heaven-defying. It was several times harder than condensing a soul core or breaking through to titled Douluo. To achieve awakening, one had to use the stigmata as a foundation, open a stigmata space, accommodate the soul information within the stigmata's genes, and cultivate it into a stigmata will. Only then could one unlock the stigmata's full genetic power. Chapter 136, Stigmata of Thunder. The 100,000-year-old stigmata of the mountain-moving ape supposedly granted control over gravity, but simply fusing with it did not bestow that power. Only by activating the soul information encoded in the stigmata's genes could one hope to master a power that was independent of one's own spirit. The conclusion of the Tianquan auction was like a stone cast into a deep pool, ripples spreading across every corner of the Douluo Continent. News of the stigmata moved like a gale through every channel. Astute powers immediately realized that this object quietly shook the balance that had governed the continent for millennia. The top figures of the Spirit Master world were far from ignorant. From their high vantage, they had watched the growing silence in the Spirit Beast forests. the shrinking yearly ranges of spirit beasts. Their private records revealed a terrifying trend. Spirit beast numbers had been collapsing for centuries, a death curve that was nearly vertical. They understood that when the last spirit beast fell, the spirit ring system that humans relied on for advancement would collapse, and the profession that had endured for generations would turn to dust. Yet this crisis felt like a collar around their necks. The tighter they struggled, the more it choked. To forbid spirit masters from hunting spirit beasts and taking spirit rings would be to cut off the path of advancement for an entire class. In a world where strength decided everything, anyone suggesting that would instantly make themselves an enemy of every spirit master and a target of collective retaliation. Besides, extinction still felt remote. Fueled by wishful thinking, future generations will deal with it. Who would sacrifice the present for a distant, uncertain benefit? The stigmata's arrival was like dawn breaking a long night. Its production difficulty was uncertain, and there was only one finished specimen so far, but that faint light revealed a new direction. For humans seeking breakthroughs without the stain of slaughtering spirit beasts, it offered a chance. For spirit beasts, it was a sliver of hope for their survival. It was not only a technological innovation, but the first step toward breaking the long-standing human-beast opposition. Word of the stigmata's appearance swept the Douluo Continent in 3 days. The Star Luo Empire, Tianhun Empire, Douling Empire, Shrek Academy, Sun Moon Empire, Body Sect, and many others were abuzz with talk about the Sea Abyss City invention. Eyes from every power turned toward this suddenly prominent city. Spies in the shadows and official envoys alike flowed toward the storm's eye. Lu Jingming felt no pressure. Sea Abyss City was no longer what it had been. Jingliu had condensed divine sense and stepped into the demigod realm. With her swordsmanship, she could slay divinities. Mabius, who oversaw the world's serpent research, had reached demigod with Lu Jingming's backing, less a battlefield terror than a researcher, but still formidable. Black Tower's strength remained mysterious. Even Lu Jingming couldn't assess her fully, though she was certainly no weaker than Jingliu. Her value lay not only in power, but in extraordinary wisdom and deep knowledge. Changli, a rank 98 titled Douluo whose spirit was the divine beast vermilion bird, could hold his own against a limit Douluo. The newly summoned Dan Heng, with twin spirits, was also a rank 98 titled Douluo, capable of contesting limit Douluo and even fighting demigods. Ji Yingying, at rank 97, was no slouch. Qiqing, Ningguang, and Zhang Lexuan were spirit Douluo, useful, though Sea Abyss City didn't need them for the current threat. Add the World Serpent members and Shui Di of the Fifth Throne, who had fused with the pseudo-Ice Herrscher core and already ascended to the demigod realm, one step from rank 100. In raw, high-end combat capability, Sea Abyss City was currently the strongest force on the Douluo Continent. They were weaker in mid to low-level strength. True, but they now had the Star Crown sect as an ally and access to fusion warrior technology. Catching up with established powers was only a matter of time. Lu Jingming fully understood the upheaval the stigmata would cause. In the original tale, when Huo Yuhao introduced soul spirit technology, Shrek Academy didn't hoard it. They established the Spirit Pagoda with other forces for joint oversight. The stigmata's effects were even more powerful than soul spirits and more benevolent to spirit beasts. After all, creating soul spirits still required the soul of a spirit beast. Stigmata did not. From the anti-gravity observation deck of the Daydream Hotel, suspended in the Void Realm, Lu Jingming looked down on the busy city and felt the power of faith around him rising. A smile tugged at his lips. He had expected the stigmata to bring him a great deal of power of faith, but had planned to wait until Sea Abyss City grew stronger. Mabius's decision to put the stigmata up for auction had hastened that timeline. Still, he had allowed it. He could have prevented Shuju from revealing the stigmata's effects when the auction began. Instead, he had let events play out. Lu Jingming slowly raised his left hand. As he expended power of faith, blood-red patterns bloomed across the back of it. When the red stigmata fully formed, the sky shifted. Dense storm clouds rolled. Blue lightning forked through them and struck toward Lu Jingming. The bolt did not harm him. Instead, it gathered in his palm, lively and eager, as though it had found its true master. At the same time, within his sea of consciousness, a new, lightning-filled space opened, the stigmata space belonging to the stigmata of thunder. The stigmata had awakened in an instant, a feat that would take most people a lifetime to achieve. The stigmata space and its awakening came to Lu Jingming the moment he obtained the artifact. Within the stigmata space, a figure slowly solidified, a graceful woman, eyes closed like a sleeping beauty, her long hair a soft purple. Lu Jingming glanced at her and found himself oddly pleased. He disliked foreign consciousnesses dwelling within him, like the heavenly dream Iceworm or Electrolux, but if it were her, he did not mind. Lightning gathered in his empty palm and sang like 10,000 birds. The elements welcomed their master. A flash of lightning lit Lu Jingming's eyes. This was not spirit power, but an authority, the authority of thunder, a divinity-level prerogative. Lu Jingming had concealed many details about the stigmata. The stigmata space was far more than a place to house the stigmata's will. Mabius had discovered an unexpected capability while creating the stigmata. The stigmata space could host a god position. In their world, a god position was crucial. A divinity without one was weaker in both power and lifespan than a divinity with one. Unless a divinity could break through to a higher level, they could not easily do without a god position. Even god kings rarely abandoned them. The amplification those positions provided was too valuable. Only very rare divinities suffered little loss if they dropped a god position. Originally, only the god realm could hold god positions. But the Douluo god realm's positions were full, and sea god Tang San had obstructed the god of destruction's plan to expand it. That left those seeking divine rank power on the Douluo Continent with no choice but to find alternatives. Lu Jingming had expected to search for methods in Honkai energy or hoped Jingliu and Black Tower would solve it. He hadn't expected Mabius to do so promptly. The stigmata space resembled the god realm in form, composed of pure divine thought and existing in a different dimension from the real world. It could accommodate a god position like the god realm, though only one, unlike the god realm, which could hold many. In effect, the stigmata space was a personal, portable god realm for a single owner. Having just opened the stigmata space for the thunder stigmata, Lu Jingming had not yet condensed a full god position, but he had already received fragments of the authority of thunder. Those fragments were not sublimations of his own power. They were gifts from the stigmata will, sleeping in the stigmata space. His original power came from the abyss white flower, powers tied to life and death. Lightning should have been outside that scope. Those authority fragments, however, let him funnel power of faith or other high-level energies, like Honkai energy, into the stigmata space and eventually condense the thunder god position there. The sleeping beauty in the stigmata space offered more than the authority of thunder. When his god position condensed, it would be far richer than a simple thunder god position. Crucially, spirit masters could absorb more than one stigmata. That meant multiple stigmata spaces could be opened and more than one god position condensed. Twin god positions would no longer be exclusive to sea god Tang San. In time, divinities could even appear with 3 god positions. All of that remained a possible future. For now, even a single stigmata awakening baffled most people, and far fewer still could sublimated their own power into authority fragments and condense even a primitive god position. Only someone in Lu Jingming's position, almost like a cheat, could accomplish that so readily. But with a rudimentary god position, he had effectively become the legacy holder of the thunder god position. He could also use the thunder authority fragments in the stigmata space to convert power of faith, spirit power, and heaven and earth spiritual chi into divine force. His current strength was still limited and conversion efficiency low, so there was no urgent need to exploit it. Still, the stigmata irreversibly raised the upper limit of the Douluo Continent's cultivation system. Spirit masters no longer had to rely solely on the god realm. Without ascending to the god realm, they could pursue higher powers. For now, only a few people knew these secrets. Most only understood the stigmata's superficial effects. As for the problem of the Douluo Continent rejecting powers above divine rank, that too was solvable for stigmata owners. If the link between the stigmata space and the world was sealed and one's own power hidden, it was possible to deceive the world will and remain on the continent instead of being expelled. If many powerful individuals remained, the world itself would grow stronger, and the upper limit of power it could accommodate would rise as well. Chapter 137, Social Phobia. March 7th. Early morning. The sky was clear and the sun bright. From the floor-to-ceiling window of the Bai Meng Hotel, the busy streets of Haiyuan City lay spread out below, and the beach in the distance was packed with people, their shouts rising and falling like waves. The round robin was over, and the top 16 list had just been released. The round of 16 was about to begin, and the tournament was steadily drawing toward its climax. Even though the appearance of the stigmata had stirred the Spirit Master world, ordinary spectators were most excited about the matches themselves. 4 contests would be held each day in the 16-8 phase. As defending champion and host, St. Freya Academy had drawn the first match slot. According to the rules, the first-place team in each group had to face the second-place team from another group. St. Freya's opponent, then, was Zhengtian Academy, second in their group after losing to Shrek Academy. It was hard not to feel sorry for Zhengtian. Their luck had been unkind. When Lu Jingming led his team out of the hotel, they passed other squads preparing to head to the arena, including Shrek Academy and Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy. Ma Xiaotao's face looked like thunder. She'd clearly had a spat with someone from Shrek and hadn't come out on top. "What's the matter? The match is starting soon," Lu Jingming said with a grin as he glanced at Ma Xiaotao and the others. Student Lu Jingming, Meng Hongchen and Xiao Hongchen, who had been looking away, turned at the sound of his voice. Meng Hongchen's eyes flicked from Lu Jingming's handsome face to Wang Dong's delicate features, one decidedly masculine, the other unexpectedly feminine, and she looked oddly conflicted. "Hi, everyone. Don't argue." San Yueqi greeted the group with the easy warmth she always carried. Her lively, adorable manner immediately put the girls at ease. In the spiritual space, the Ice Jade Scorpion's voice sounded, full of surprise. "Yu Hao, I sensed our kind on that pink-haired girl. She's refined the spirit bone." Huo Yuhao's expression hardened. He understood what the Ice Jade Scorpion's perception implied. That cheerful, seemingly harmless pink-haired girl had refined an ice spirit bone. She was an ultimate ice wielder. He glanced at the quiet, gentle Lu Ying and felt a jolt of shock. Ultimate attribute spirit masters were supposed to be incredibly rare. How could so many appear in St. Freya Academy? Huo Yuhao's gaze swept over Xiadai, Jinxie, Robin, and the others, and his stomach sank. "Let's all go together. We're young. If there are any disputes, we'll settle them on the arena," Lu Jingming said, smiling and ushering his team down the path first. "Hey, little brat!" Ma Xiaotao called after him. Lu Jingming's smile twitched, and he replied, half mocking, half mischievous, "Ma Xiaotao, have you forgotten my name or the lesson from earlier?" Ma Xiaotao reddened, then bristled. "You call me Xiaotao Jie and don't expect me to repay the favor. Listen, I'm not losing this time." "I'm looking forward to it," Lu Jingming said easily, unconcerned. Even though Ma Xiaotao had broken through to Spirit Saint, he wasn't taking her lightly. What if she was Spirit Saint? Could she still stand against his Black Abyss White Flower? "Humph. Just wait. Xiaotao Jie will teach you a lesson," she snapped, cheeks flushed. "Do you two know each other?" Shu Sanqi murmured to Beibei. From their banter, it was obvious they'd a history. "More than know each other. Old rivals," Ling Luochen said with a faint smile. She'd seen Lu Jingming's interactions with Ma Xiaotao during earlier competitions and knew he had a talent for getting under her skin. Shu Sanqi fanned himself theatrically. "This student Lu is something else." Beibei looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" Shu Sanqi leaned in conspiratorially. "Didn't you notice how the girls from St. Freya looked at Xiaotao Jie? And Xiaotao Jie's behavior, different than usual. She's known as the Inner Court's active volcano. When did she get so mellow?" Beibei flushed, then waved the subject away. "This isn't our business. If we gossip too much, we might get dragged in." Hearing this, Shu Sanqi sneaked a glance at Ma Xiaotao and relaxed when she didn't look his way. If she knew he'd been speculating behind her back, he'd be in trouble for sure. San Yueqi worked her charm effortlessly as they walked. She chattered with Xiao Xiao, Jiang Nanan, and Meng Hongchen so naturally that even the usually aloof Ling Luochen responded. Little Sanyu was a social whirlwind, what some called a social terrorist for her ability to make friends everywhere. Where Meng Hongqian and Xiao Xiao kept a frosty rivalry between them, Sanyuechi saw competition as separate from friendship. Making friends was important, so she made them. Thanks to her matchmaking, Lan Susu and Lan Luoluo pulled Ye Gai into their circle, and Xiao Xiao even begged Sanyuechi to get an autograph from Robin, grinning like an excited fan. From the outside, the girls of the three teams were unexpectedly close, completely at odds with the tension of the competition. The boys were another story. Lu Jingming was sparring in words with Ma Xiaotao, while Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong, and Xiao Hongqian glared at each other in a silent contest of wills. They cut through the crowd along the pathway opened by city guards, boarded the Soul Conductor battleship, and rose to the Sea Abyss Eye. The three teams split and entered their respective resting rooms. As soon as they arrived, Huo Yuhao leaned forward eagerly to share his discovery. "You're sure? Sanyuechi is actually an ultimate ice attribute spirit master?" Xiao Xiao's face showed disbelief. It was hard to picture the normally vivacious, bubbly girl as an ice attribute spirit master, let alone an ultimate one. Zhang Nanan looked at Huo Hao with a new respect, sensing the Ice Jade Scorpion spirit bone and inferring Sanyuechi's status wasn't something many could do. Beibei, Wang Yan, and the others were shocked too, but accepted Huo Yuhao's judgment. His own spirit and its perceptions lent weight to his claim. So Saint Freya doesn't just have one ultimate attribute spirit master. They have both ice and fire, and both run counter to me, Ma Xiaotao muttered, recalling her earlier harsh words toward Lu Jingming and feeling a twinge of regret. She had the sense that fate was singling her out for misfortune. The competition resting area was quieter now. Only the top 16 remained. The teams left were nearly all renowned academies. This year, there hadn't been a dark horse like Saint Freya in the earlier rounds. The 16-8 phase would stretch over 4 days, 4 matches each day. Matches were split between team matches and individual elimination rounds on separate days. The first day presented team matches. Even if a team lost the team contest, they could still come back in the individual eliminations by defeating 7 opponents with 3 people. In practice, the tournament favored individual power. A team with one exceptionally strong spirit master could still turn a loss around in the individual phase. Winning the team match did confer a tangible advantage in the eliminations. However, the victors only needed to defeat 3 opponents with 7 people to claim overall victory. 16-8 team match, Saint Freya Academy versus Zhengtian Academy. Please enter the arena. The team's names and member avatars flashed across the Soul Conductor's screen for all to see. Dan Heng, the referee, took his place at center stage right on time. Lu Jingming made a lineup change for this match, substituting Ye Gai in for Jingxi. Ye Gi was eager to pit his sacred angel spirit against Zheng Tian's angel spirit. As the players from both sides ascended the stage, cheers exploded into the sky, and the crowd's excitement reached a fever pitch. Saint Freya's lineup moved with the calm confidence of seasoned champions. Zheng Tian's 7, in contrast, looked grim and tense. Facing Saint Freya, few expected Zheng Tian to get past the top 16. Lu Jingming scanned the 7 opponents as they approached. The leader was Ye Wuqing, stern and focused. His spirit, the Golden Leaf, was a level 59 attack spirit king, powerful and dangerous. Beside him stood Yu Mengdi, her twin-winged angel, a level 53 attack spirit king. Though an angel spirit, hers did not match the potency or passive effects of Ye Guoyi's sacred angel. There was also Tang Xiaolei, a dark-haired youth bonded to the purple splendor bow, a level 52 attack spirit king. The other members, Shangguan Can with his soul-capturing bell, Yaner with her fire element, Yang Yifan and his shadow blade, and the volatile blood wolf with his bloodthirsty demon wolf, were spirit ancestors, competent but not in the same league as the spirit kings. On the Saint Freya side, Lu Jingming stood at the fore, calm, confident, and clearly the team's backbone. Along with him were Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong, Sanyuechi, the pink-haired, seemingly innocent girl who'd hidden in Ultimate Ice, and the remaining members, Xia Di, Robin, and the substitute, Ye Gai. Between them were high-tier spirits and a number of unexpected, dangerous individual talents. With both an Ultimate Ice and an Ultimate Fire among their ranks, St. Freya's lineup radiated overwhelming potential. The announcer's voice rolled across the arena, and Dan Heng raised his hands. The rules were recapped in a polite but firm tone. Once the signal was given, the teams would be locked in by their registration seals. Leaving the arena meant forfeiture. A hush fell. Lu Jingming glanced at his teammates, at Huo Yuhao's concentrated face, at Wang Dong's steady poise, at San Yueqi's bright eyes, and then at the Zheng Tian front line. A subtle smile touched his lips. He had a plan. Dan Heng's hand came down like a judge's gavel. Begin! The arena erupted. Waylights, spirit auras, and the rush of combat energy tore across the field as both sides launched into action. St. Freya moved with the practiced synchronicity of a champion team. Zheng Tian struck back with desperate force. The first exchange favored St. Freya. Lu Jingming stepped forward, a ripple of black and white energy coiling around his form as he tested the enemy's defenses. Nearby, Ye Gai's wings flared incandescently, a challenge meant for the angel spirit on the other side. Huo Yuhao's aura chilled the air, and San Yueqi simply smiled sweetly, then sent a slice of crystalline ice that froze the opening space of the enemy's formation. By the time Zheng Tian adjusted, St. Freya had already seized momentum. The crowd roared at the display. This match, as many had predicted, was becoming a showcase of raw individual power and team cohesion. For Zheng Tian, the road ahead looked difficult. For St. Freya, the first step toward the quarterfinals had been taken with authority. Zheng Tian Academy was no pushover. They had the strength to fight for a top 8 spot. Their misfortune was simply timing. First, they drew Shrek Academy and lost, despite Shrek being weaker. Then luck ran out again, and they ran straight into St. Freya. My name is Lu Jingming. Let's be friends. You're outstanding. Have you considered developing in Haiyuan City? Lu Jingming smiled and extended his hand toward Ye Wuqing. He truly admired Ye Wuqing. With potential to break through to Spirit Emperor before 20, Ye Wuqing could easily reach a titled Douluo rank someday. If Zheng Tian's resources were unlimited, Ye Wuqing would be even more remarkable. Haiyuan City didn't lack high-level fighters, but it did lack a pillar like Ye Wuqing. If Ye Wuqing came, Lu Jingming wouldn't mind adding another commander post to the Enforcement Guard, or even forming an entirely new Spirit Master Legion. He had already been thinking of forming such a legion, an indestructible blade, a force separate from the Enforcement Guard. He'd even picked a name, the Fools. If Ye Wuqing agreed, Lu Jingming would focus on cultivating him and give him an executive officer position. Ye Wuqing and his teammates were taken aback. They had expected the usual haughty recruiting pitch, not a friendly invitation. Recalling what they'd seen and heard in Haiyuan City, Ye Wuqing shook Lu Jingming's hand calmly. Thank you. I'll consider it. I'll await your reply, Lu Jingming said with a smile, then looked at Yu Mengdi, Tang Xiaolei, and the others. The gates of Haiyuan City are always open to you. Zheng Tian Academy didn't have the same obligations as Dueling Royal Academy. Zheng Tian students weren't bound to serve any state, whereas dueling graduates were expected to serve the dueling empire. So although Solitary Bamboo Sword and the others were outstanding, Lu Jingming didn't presumptuously invite them. His welcoming tone almost erased the initial hostility from Yu Mengdi and the others. Dan Heng pretended not to notice the recruitment, and the audience, only seeing the handshake, felt the atmosphere ease instead of stiffen. But the match still had to be fought. Both teams spread out 100 meters apart on the arena. Dan Heng's gaze swept the field. Then he announced calmly, "The match begins." At his command, both sides released their spirit rings. Light flooded the arena. Ye Guai and Yu Mengdi launched at each other like two arrows loosed from a bow. Behind each of them, a sacred angel phantom coalesced. Ye Guai's angel was breathtaking, pure and holy, while Yu Mengdi's, though impressive, seemed slightly overshadowed in presence. Though Yu Mengdi's spirit power rank was higher, Ye Guai's aura opening was stronger despite him being only a spirit ancestor. A stirring, sacred battle song seemed to rumble up from the distant void, filling the arena. A platinum holy sword met golden twin blades in a shower of sparks. White and gold wings twisted and beat as if two divine birds were tearing at each other. The duel between the two angels was a spectacle from the first moment, and the crowd roared. Are angel spirits always this cool? They even come with their own BGM. San Yueqi watched with envy, imagining how majestic it would be to have music announce her fights. An exquisite pink longbow materialized in her hands, and with a ripple of spirit power, an ice arrow condensed. She drew and released. The arrow whistled and intercepted a purple light arrow mid-flight. Tang Xiaolei, who had just fired from his purple splendor bow, watched, surprised. San Yueqi was an expert archer too, but the difference was obvious. Her bow was a spirit tool, whereas his bow was the manifestation of his spirit. Then the arena's tempo shifted. A shadow flickered like a ghost. Yang Yifan, wielding the shadow blade. His second spirit ring flared, and he activated Shadow Swift Slash, turning into a streak of light. The shadow blade became a razor edge and slashed horizontally towards Xia Dai. At the same time, Bloodwolf leapt like a feral beast, dropping to all fours and lunging at Xia Di from another angle. His blood-red hair whipped in the air, and a frenzy of violence radiated off him. The dark blade strike and blood-colored claw came in almost together. Zheng Tian's team had thought this through. Lu Jingming, Gu Yue, and Liu Ying had already shown their strengths. The Zheng Tian fighters lacked confidence against them. San Yueqi was pinned by Tang Xiaolei. Ye Gui was engaged with Yu Mengdi. Robin and the others were not easy targets, so they chose Xia Di as their breakthrough point. Xia Di blinked, looking innocent, then flicked her right hand and drew black energy together. A magnificent purple great scythe formed in her grip in an instant. 2 streaks of purple blade light flashed like lightning, and the dark blade and blooded claw shattered against that brilliance. The enormous scythe looked like a toy in her hands as she swung it horizontally. A massive arc of blade light tore through the air. Yang Yifan and Bloodwolf's faces fell. They had literally struck an iron plate. Lu Jingming watched and shook his head with a quiet chuckle. If Zheng Tian had gone after Gu Yu, the outcome would likely have been worse for the attackers. If Xia Dai hadn't had a streak of gentleness, those two would have been swallowed by the shadow of death the moment they closed. Even so, she was far beyond their abilities. Under a storm of purple blade light, the two were driven to the edge, constantly at risk. Xia Dai's innocent appearance masked unimaginable agility. To the crowd, she moved like a dancing purple butterfly wielding a scythe, but the grace hid lethal power. Yang Yifan and Bloodwolf were battered, forced to use several spirit abilities to escape, and still couldn't shake her. Seeing their teammates endangered, Yonner's worry flared into action. Flames danced around her. Both her first and second spirit rings glowed. She activated her fireball and fireball array. 5 searing fireballs, hot enough to melt steel, swept toward Xia Di like meteors, attempting to pull her away and rescue the others. Gu Ye was ready. She raised an eyebrow, moved with calm precision, and hooked her right index finger. The aquamarine orb beside her flared. A deafening dragon roar sounded, and a lifelike water dragon condensed from nothing, charging into the 5 blazing fireballs. The collision blew up in a violent blast. Steam fanned out and thick mist rolled across the arena, swallowing much of the field. From that mist, a blue lightning flash erupted. On the back of Lu Jingming's left hand, a blood-colored stigmata quietly burned into view. Lightning within it poured into his body like a torrent, electrifying every cell and pushing his speed to extremes. In a blink, he became a black streak, crossing 100 meters in an instant. The black long spear in his hand glinted coldly as he thrust it toward Ye Wuqing. The spear shrieked through the air. Ye Wuqing's expression stiffened. He quickly activated his first spirit ring ability, Golden Barrier. A golden shield flared into being before him. At his side, Shangguan Can was not idle either. He shook the soul sealing bell, activating his third spirit ability, Soul Thorn. The bell's chime carried a subtle, cutting mental force. An invisible blade aimed straight at Lu Jingming's brow. Lu Jingming looked at him and smiled faintly. Lightning sparked in his gaze, as if bolts leapt from his pupils. An invisible mental impact wrapped in black and red lightning shot out. The bell's sound was torn apart by that force, collapsed like brittle foam. The mental blow continued, striking Shangguan Can straight on. Shangguan Can's face went pale as paper. He coughed and spat blood. A shock of terror filled his eyes. He felt as if some unapproachable god were glaring at him, the kind of divine might that could obliterate a soul. If Lu Jingming's stigmata space hadn't been isolated, the mental attack might not have merely injured him. Shangguan Can's soul could have been annihilated. Lu Jingming shook his head. Using a mental spirit ability on him was practically courting death. Even as Shangguan Can staggered, Ye Wuqing's golden barrier took the spear thrust. The strike battered against the shield, and the force drove into Ye Wuqing, forcing him to anchor himself. The impact cracked the air with a metallic groan, but the barrier held. Muscles tensed on both sides. For an instant, the two men were locked in a stalemate. Lu Jingming's assault, powered by stigmata lightning, versus Ye Wuqing's resolute defense. The mist thinned as Guyoi's water dragon and Yanner's fireball explosion cleared the air. Xiadai was already on the offensive again. Her scythe flashed and forced Yang Yifan and Bloodwolf back. Each swing was quick and precise. Their evasions became desperate. Wounded and under pressure, the two finally broke contact and fled to regroup. Seeing his teammates driven off, Yang Yifan made a last feint with his shadow blade, while Bloodwolf covered his retreat with a reckless leap. The two vanished toward the edge of the arena, breathing hard and nursing injuries. Guyue retracted her water dragon and gave a small nod. Xiadai lowered her scythe, looking as placid as ever. The audience went wild. Xiadai's sudden, ferocious display had turned the tide of that skirmish and won cheers from every corner of the stands. Lu Jingming eased back a step, still bristling with energy. He glanced at Ye Wuqing and then at the rest of the dueling side. He had come to test and to recruit, but tonight he had found more than one thing to admire. He allowed himself a thin, approving smile. "Interesting," he murmured, as if to himself. Dan Heng's voice cut through the roar of the crowd to announce the temporary outcome, and the arena buzzed with reaction. Xiadai's ferocity, Guyue's control, Ye Wuqing's steady defense, all of it had made Zheng Tian's planned breakthrough fail. Lu Jingming reined his stigmata's lightning back into himself and retreated a dozen paces to reassess, the faint blood-red mark on his hand dimming as he did. As the dust settled and the teams readied for the next exchange, the crowd's excitement lingered in the air. It was clear to everyone watching that Xiadai's power was not to be underestimated, and Lu Jingming, commander and diplomat, had found a new reason to keep an eye on Dueling Royal Academy's young talents. Chapter 139, With Thunder, Shatter the Darkness. Ye Wuqing's face went ashen. His first spirit ability, Golden Barrier, collapsed like tissue paper under Lu Jingming's black spear. The golden shield exploded into motes of light in an instant. Grasping a shining golden leaf, Ye Wuqing activated his third spirit ability, Falling Slash. A golden cut burst forth and slammed into the black spear, forcing Lu Jingming's weapon off course. Taking advantage of the impact, Ye Wuqing backed away fast, trying to create distance. He knew he was weak at close quarters. One mistake, and he could be finished. Lu Jingming pressed the attack, twirling his spear in a graceful arc and thrusting again. The spear wind whistled. Fifth spirit ability, Purple Descent Heavenly Thunder Arrow. Tang Xiaolei bellowed. His fifth spirit ring flared, and violet lightning condensed in his hand into a massive thunder arrow. He loosed it into the sky. The arrow fell like a meteor, crackling with ionized air, aiming straight for Lu Jingming. "Hey, do you think this young miss is here to play?" San Yueqi huffed, her chubby cheeks puffing in indignation. She drew her pink longbow into a perfect crescent, and the second spirit ring on her arm flashed purple. Second spirit ability, Ice Carving Arrow Rain Time. An ice arrow sang through the air. Mid-flight, it split into hundreds, each arrow bitterly cold, cascading down on Tang Xiaolei like a storm of hail. Wherever the rain passed, the air froze and the temperature plunged. Tang Xiaolei's face fell. He pulled at his bow, spirit rings blinking as he tried to intercept the barrage, but he had misjudged his own strength and underestimated San Yueqi. The purple lightning arrows were frozen on contact with the ice chi and lost all momentum. In moments, the area within tens of meters of Tang Xiaolei was encased in ice. All that remained where he had stood was a towering block. Tang Xiaolei himself, trapped mid-draw, frozen into the statue of a man. Still, Tang Xiaolei's thunder arrow had bought Ye Wuqing crucial time. The black spiral spear light spun and tore apart the purple thunder arrow before it could reach Lu Jingming. Tang lightning leaped and crackled around Lu Jingming, but did no real damage. Ye Wuqing used the opening to retreat farther. The second, fourth, and fifth spirit rings along his arm all flared at once. he was going to burn everything he had. Second spirit ability, Golden Leaf Rain. Fourth spirit ability, Golden Falling. Fifth spirit ability, Dance of Golden Leaves, Ye Wuqing shouted. Countless golden leaves fluttered down like snowflakes, edges honed like knives. They whirled together into a titanic golden dragon tornado that blotted out the sky and surged toward Lu Jingming, twisting the air into a vortex. Perfect timing, Lu Jingming said with a confident smile. He intended to test the mark of thunder. Thunder rolled across the heavens. It felt as if the whole world shuddered. Forces of lightning gathered from every quarter, rushing toward him like thousands of charging steeds. Electromagnetism lifted his body into the air. Behind him, bolts braided and converged until they formed a 100-meter-tall thunder giant. The colossus gripped lightning and, as it absorbed more power, forged a dazzling spear of lightning tens of meters long. The spear radiated such brilliance that the audience had to shield their eyes. All thunder in the world is mine to command. With thunder, shatter the darkness. Lightning flashed in Lu Jingming's eyes. He looked at the oncoming golden dragon tornado, then pressed his palm down. The thunder giant swung the lightning spear, driving it downward with a cataclysmic force. The moment the spear struck the golden dragon tornado, time seemed to halt, and the arena fell deadly quiet. Boom! A thunderclap so loud it felt like eardrums might burst rolled out. Lightning radiated from the collision point, filling the air with the sharp, burnt scent of ozone. The supposedly invulnerable golden dragon tornado was swallowed by the lightning. The intense heat melted the golden leaves, burning them into nothing but fleeting streaks of light which were then consumed. The golden dragon, once so imposing, was erased as if it had never been. Everyone stared, stunned, at the thunder giant suspended in the arena's center, an image from myth, all light and thunder. The golden brilliance that had once shone from Ye Wuqing's attack flickered briefly in the maelstrom and then vanished. Ye Wuqing himself lay among the blasted rubble, electric arcs still crawling across his body. He was paralyzed, unable to move. All he could do was stare upward. Suspended in the lightning, Lu Jingming looked like a god. Angelic seal slash! Holy Spirit slash! High above, the duel between Ye Gai and Yu Mengdi had reached its climax. Two angelic phantoms raised their sacred swords, one gold, one platinum, each blade pouring out blinding light. The two swords clashed with a thunderous cry. A white radiance flared, almost like a miniature sun, and washed the arena in pure light. In its wake, a figure plummeted from the sky like a bird with clipped wings, white feathers trailing down. When the light faded enough for the crowd to see clearly, Yu Mengdi was on one knee, her sword planted into the ground as she gasped for breath, sweat-soaked and pale. Ye Gai stood tall, sword poised in the void realm, breathing hard but evidently the victor. From their conditions, the outcome was obvious. Ye Gai had won the angelic duel. Elsewhere, a winner had already been decided. Yaner of Zhengtian Academy had been trapped inside a massive water sphere, struggling for breath and looking thoroughly defeated. Guyu smiled lightly and snapped her fingers. The water ball burst, drenching Yaner. Sopping and sprawled, Yaner fell onto the stage. Her appearance drew whistles from sections of the crowd. Nearby, Xia Dai held her purple scythe in composed stillness, looking like a painting. Yang Yifan and Shui Lang lay nearby with eyes rolled back and limbs limp, utterly broken. Round of 16-8, team battle. St. Freya Academy wins, Dan Heng announced coolly, his gaze sweeping over the ruined Zhengtian Academy lineup. The St. Freya Academy versus Zhengtian Academy match concluded, and the Soul Master competition's round of 16-8 stage had proceeded in orderly fashion. Team battles took place over the first 2 days. The third day would be the individual elimination rounds. After their crushing team defeat, Zhengtian Academy abandoned any fanciful hopes of a comeback. They still sent representatives to the individual rounds, 3 of their strongest Spirit Kings, but their journey ended at the top 16. St. Freya Academy, by contrast, advanced with momentum, dispatching opponents with overwhelming force. Their performance convinced many in the audience they were strong contenders for the championship. But Shrek Academy's appearance introduced a major variable. They fielded Ma Xiaotao, Dai Yueheng, and Ling Luochen, 3 core members, and when Ma Xiaotao revealed Spirit Saint Cultivation, the arena was stunned. For ordinary viewers who did not understand the finer points of spirit masters, such as the value of a 100,000-year spirit ring or the nuances of ultimate attributes, Ma Xiaotao's spirit saint level seemed decisive. Many immediately decided Shrek Academy might reclaim the trophy this year. As the round of 16-8 wrapped, the quarterfinals followed. St. Freya Academy drew Star Luo Royal Academy in the lottery. Lu Jingming could only shake his head. Star Luo had been unlucky to face them so early. Given Star Luo Royal Academy's overall strength, meeting St. Freya, or even Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy or Shrek Academy, would likely have ended the same way. Many in the crowd showed regret at the draw. Both teams were representatives of the Star Luo Empire, and this match was now an internal clash. Moreover, most of the live audience were citizens of the Star Luo Empire. Foreign spectators were only a small minority. Loyalties were split, and even players like Yu Mengdi, who hailed from Star Luo, found themselves caught between local pride and the fierce competition unfolding on the field. Chapter 140, Sujuju's Provocation. The morning after the round of 16, the first rays of dawn crept up over the horizon. Soft light washed over Sea Abyss City, turning everything a warm gold. A gentle sea breeze carried faint moisture across the stands. After the previous matches, the members of St. Freya Academy, handsome and striking, had won themselves a fair share of fans. Humans were, after all, visual creatures. Beauty drew attention and affection. When Lu Jingming and his team stepped into the Sea Abyss Eye Arena, an immediate roar rose from the crowd, waves of cheers crashing over the seats. The Star Luo Royal Academy team, clad in golden uniforms, received equal applause. It was, after all, their home empire. The quarterfinals followed the same format as the round of 16, a team battle first, then individual elimination matches. The sky was clear, a flawless blue without a cloud. Whether it was the city's climate devices or simple luck, the day felt perfect for battle. Lu Jingming led Robin, Firefly, Guyue, Xiadi, March 7th, Jin Shi, and the others onto the arena. Opposite them, Sujuju appeared in a sharp, capable outfit that downplayed her usual noble, elegant air and added a hint of heroic vigor. Lu Jingming's eyes brightened. The change suited her. As the princess of the Star Luo Empire and captain of the Star Luo Royal Academy team, this was Sujuju's first major appearance in the competition, and her first match was against Lu Jingming. The situation amused her, and when she looked at him, there was an unmistakable glint of provocation. "Ah Ming, Sister Juju is provoking you," March 7th whispered excitedly, leaning toward Lu Jingming, clearly enjoying the spectacle. "You won't hold back, will you?" Guyue asked dryly, glancing at him. She remembered how he'd never gone easy on her in training. If he did hold back now because of his relationship with Sujuju, she intended to have words with him. Lu Jingming's answer was calm. "It's a match. It has to look like a match. No emotions. I won't go easy." Dan Heng took the center and announced the start. The teams faced each other, but the arena's atmosphere was oddly relaxed. March 7th winked at Sujuju from behind Lu Jingming, playful and mischievous. The Star Luo students behind Sujuju kept curious, measuring glances between their princess and Lu Jingming. As Academy students destined to pledge to the royal family, they knew rumors about their relationship. Both sides, retreat. Dan Heng's voice was steady. Lu Jingming and Sujuju exchanged a look, then each led their teams back about 100 meters. Sujuju melted into the back of her team. Lu Jingming stood at the front, tall and unyielding like a spearhead. Match begins. Dan Heng vanished from the arena in an instant, and both sides released their spirit and spirit rings at intense speed. Robin was first among St. Freya to show. With a clear, pleasant note, she released her spirit and activated her spirit ability. Pure white wings unfurled behind her, reflecting sunlight like drifting clouds. A circle of white, holy light formed above her head, and her first spirit ring glowed purple. A soft, ethereal song accompanied the manifestation as a white halo washed over Lu Jingming and the team, momentarily boosting their spirit power. Robin's ability, Flapping White Sound, temporarily raised the team's spirit power rank and provided strong support. Not long after, a roar like a dragon's broke the air. Golden light glimmered on Jinshi's forehead as a pair of delicate golden horns slowly emerged. A translucent white-gold divine dragon coalesced beside her, circling with an aura of light and the sense of flowing time. The dragon's presence was rich and overpowering. In the Shrek Academy lounge, Bebe's expression went pale. He clutched his chest as if feeling his blood surge like a furnace. "Such powerful light energy," he said with a strained voice. "Even stronger than my light holy dragon." Ma Xiaotao's face tightened. She knew Bebe was the great-grandson of the dragon god Douluo Continent and had inherited the light holy dragon bloodline, one of the pinnacle light powers in the Spirit Master world, second only to the legendary Ultimate Light. Could Jin Shi possess an ultimate light attribute? The thought made her uneasy. Ultimate attributes were as rare as phoenix feathers. It seemed impossible that they were appearing so often. Back on the stage, Shujuju refused to be outshone. A dazzling golden light flickered on her forehead, and a diamond-shaped gem formed there. It burst into brilliant light, then detached, levitating upward. Golden radiance braided itself into an exquisitely beautiful crown that descended to settle upon her head. The crown looked like a band of stars. 18 larger points jutted upward, forming a noble, elegant coronet. This was the Star Crown, Shujuju's spirit and the legacy spirit of the Star Crown sect. As a support-type spirit, it rivaled renowned artifacts like the 7-treasure glazed tile pagoda in power, but with fewer drawbacks. Its main limitation was that it could only cultivate by absorbing starlight at night. The Star Crown was rare, only 3 inheritors in this generation, rarer even than the glazed pagoda in some respects. 2 yellow rings, 2 purple, and a single black ring flickered into existence on Shujuju. She was a spirit king of formidable power, her rank at 59, one step from breaking through to Spirit Emperor. After Shujuju revealed her spirit, the rest of the Star Luo team followed suit. Huang Heian, acting vice captain and de facto leader before Shujuju's appearance, released the Dark Demonic Tiger, a rank 57 attack-type spirit radiating a potent dark aura. Yi Chen's spirit was Fire Element, a rank 55 control-type spirit. Wang Xiying's Wind Spirit was rank 54, also control-type. Chen Xiaoji's Lightning Falcon was a rank 56 agility attack spirit. Holy Wing's Giant Winged Vulture was a rank 56 defense spirit. Dugu Shangshan's Netherworld Mad Lion was a rank 56 attack spirit. The Star Luo Royal Academy's lineup was extravagant, every member a spirit king, most of them advanced spirit kings. Their strength clearly outmatched Douling Royal Academies. If not for the slower cultivation speed inherent to most support-type spirits and the Star Crown's need for nocturnal starlight, Shujuju might already have broken into Spirit Emperor level well before 20.